Hello, dear orcs and goblins and fellow D&D warriors and warriostress and everybody in between. We are live with a new episode of Beyond the Isles for our 90th episode anniversary. Hey! I don't hear music. Is that normal?
It's in Foundry.
It's in Foundry.
I have to on Foundry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
To give it away with no technical issues, and I definitely did not roll a nat 1 on not falling asleep after dinner. We are here to answer some serious questions. Hi, Mr. Keo.
Hey, Kim.
The first question that we have here, I have my little sheet here, and we have a lot of questions from you guys. We're gonna do that in the end. I will not forget about it. But first, we have some questions here that I want to work through with the boys. Who is here today? Honestly, who is here? I see Mr. Rory.
Hello. I'm Rory. I'll play Eos.
John.
What?
John, Mr. West John. Mr.
What?
Rory. Mr. Mrs. Rorios. And Mr. Dash Dash. No, you are Mr.
Dash.
Kindash.
Kindash, double dash. Yeah.
And it's me, BZB, the Hatsubatsu. For the first question that I have here is, gentlemen, we 90 sessions in.
90?
What do you think
I can't count.
the most significant change in your character since episode 1?
Most significant change.
I give that question to Dash immediately.
Yeah, kids.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the answer. He had 2 kids. A lot of changes for Dash, really. He's massively outside his comfort zone, but the big one is the kids. That's a huge thing for him. Also, the losing of 9 months with Vathros, kind of, because he's before the 9 months, he's like a young man, basically in his late 20s, and he's now, approaching his 30s. That 9 months, that kind of year there between before Vathros and after Vathros, massive changes for Dash, because he's walked right into, he didn't have time to prep for kids. He's just suddenly a dad, and that's a lot to take on all at once. So that's my answer.
Yeah, true. As a follow-up, like, how did he, what was his journey with Vathros? Because as a player, I was always curious, like, he did give away something that he had to do, but like, I mean, you did know that the rest of the party was somewhere else, and you was doing something on your own, and like, what was that for Dash? Like, everybody was away with it. Did he feel lost? Did he had the confidence that the party's gonna come back? Like, how was it for him?
I think it was it was such a blur for him, really. So the time skip was strange because it was, he doesn't have all the memories from it, so it didn't have that profound, like, I've been this long without the party kind of impact. It's a case of he knows how much time has passed, but he didn't experience the time passing kind of thing. So he's just kind of on autopilot for the vast majority of it. But he was, he was resigned to it initially, but then he saw benefits to it. He got to know Vathros a bit. He got to experience a bit more of what he is capable of himself with, I suppose, a bit of magical enhancements. So it was, it wasn't like a traumatic experience as such until the whole Leonin thing. Down the line, that became a thing once he started getting those memories back. But
did this time actually change something in his stance towards Vathros? Because I kind of know, I had that as a player when he did something for Hatsu that Hatsu did not expect at all, and the way he did it. Did Dash have something similar with him in the time that he was traveling with him?
He did, because if you remember when, I think it was the first time that Slate and Dash went into the book together, Dash was very suspicious of Vathros because Vathros triggered a memory of Dash's childhood, and Dash was like, get the fuck away from me. He did not trust it, didn't want that, nothing to do with it at all. But with the time he spent with him, he very much sees him as a friend after after that from, seeing how he was treating Dash. I suppose he treated him with respect, and he seemed, so from Dash's perspective anyway, he seemed quite honorable. So he gained a lot of respect from him and would count him as a friend after it for sure.
Mr. John, what do you think is the most significant change in your character? Is he still the same character? That would also be a question.
He's so close to starting puberty. He's
Dash
awake. Yeah, Dash too. Maybe we'll experience puberty together. Be glorious.
Synchronized voice breaks. That'd be great.
I think that's how that works, right? Pretty sure that's how that works. He's awake. Kinda. Just kind of questioning that at the moment. He is beginning to get a better grasp of identity and time and place and his role in the multiverse, whatever that is. Yeah. He speaks in more than one syllable at a time. That's a thing. That's growth. And he's been able to yell at everyone a lot about, following the law, which no one ever does.
I mean, does he yell? He's just, I don't know. I feel like he's more conscious about his role. That's what I would say. Feels like
inside he's yelling. He's yelling inside, and that's what matters. You should feel the yelling.
So he's like a chihuahua.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Always angry about everything.
Didn't start that way, but I think the kid needs a vacation, at some point, just needs a vacation. But that'll have to wait until, no, not much really a beach guy, He likes a good, cabin in the woods, right? That's a reference.
Sometimes the trees come closer.
No,
you never know.
No, they don't. Not allowed. Forbidden.
I mean, it's not against the law.
I mean, that you know of yet.
I mean,
we're about to find out a lot about the forest there, I'm pretty sure, on tomorrow.
In the trees are freely to move,
That's their prerogative,
Is there HOA in these woods we're in?
No. There's just rules of engagement that we're really bad at adhering to.
What?
Well,
so you would say the most significant change is that he speaks in more than one syllable.
Yeah, he's waking up. He's wiping the stardust from his eyeballs. He's getting ready to become the universe's greatest race threat. It's probably fine.
And how does he feel about his new contract?
The new contract?
I mean,
listen.
you had that rental contract for like a few hundred years. All of a sudden it changed, like...
Listen. There is zero evidence that there was a pre-existing contract with the squirrel. There's only a contract with the squirrel now. There is an unknown number of potential contracts that could exist. And until he is able to really actually get with true knowledge, like true firm confirmation of to whom he owes 30% of his profit margin.
I think it's more. But yeah, we get there.
I don't know. He doesn't know.
Imagine like being the contractor, and what does Westland do when he has like things he has to deliver that is contrary to one of the contracts?
Well, at the moment he's only aware of one. The others, if they exist, aren't as forthcoming with the terms of service. if at all. I mean, as a great old one warlock, sometimes those things are just going to be forever mysteries because they, work in tangential ways. It's like hard geometry and then non-Euclidean geometry when it comes to the wants and desires of beings that are ancient and not from this place.
I mean, they have the time, right?
They've got the time.
And sometimes I envision Westland being more like, that supercomputer in Hitchhiker's Guide Through Galaxy. I forgot what her name was. And she had time for thousands of years to figure something out that the others couldn't. Sometimes I view it less like they all have these contractors and they just give them like a general goal and let's see what comes out of that. Maybe you just have to walk up to the school and say, the answer for you, it's 42. Let's go.
Or we could, in theory, begin to lay out an argument that he is the squirrel. And he is just his own patron.
That's funny that you say that argument. I had the same feeling last time when after session, I was thinking Jesus, what if he's a Patreon himself? Or he's
Firethorn. Why else would Firethorn be like, yeah, don't kill me, man? Who knows? His mom showing up could just be him. He might be his own mom. I don't know. I don't know how any of this works. Listen, magic is weird.
His own mom. That is interesting.
Yeah.
So
it's possible.
So you say
Westland is Fry from Futurama.
Westland is his mom, and he's also a seed from the tree that spreaded and made a new tree kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean,
interesting thought.
You could go super wacky and go down arguments on divinity, on simply not even existing, not even being real at the very beginning. A manifestation, a compilation, a artificial intelligence. Anyone seen Serial Experiments Lane? It could be that, looking for God in the internet. I don't know. Who knows?
Eos. Rory.
Yes.
What about Eos? Do you think is the most significant change in Eos?
Her willingness to put her foot forward or her foot down. She's very shy. She was very back of the class originally, but since the events of Saigon and Toshi, she's really grasped the reality that she herself needs to take some form of control based on the situation. So she's willing now to organize meetings in our little dining room. She's willing to speak out when she's not asked directly. She's kind of stepping out of her own shadow in a way.
I noticed that actually, particularly last day when she was berating Dash for the whole jail thing. That was very damn, who this? Kind of thing,
Yeah,
There's a bit of
that would also
there.
be a question that I have in my mind, that stuck since last session though, was the angry speak. Was that Eos or was that Ecticacy? Or are they both the same? I don't know at this point.
That specifically was Eos, but she definitely tapped into Ecticacy to source that anger and frustration.
So would you say Eos is generally a character that hides away such feelings as anger and desperation and stuff to not harm the character of Eos that she represents?
Yeah, she can't tap into weakness publicly like that. She would generally prefer to be on an even scale, keep everything balanced if she can for the outward look. Otherwise, it's a sign of weakness if she is upset around enemies.
Interesting. Through all the episodes, I saw people communicate with their families in various ways. People that send letters, people use dreams to connect to people. And but like for my feeling, I don't have evidence for that. I think once or twice things happened where she did write a letter to her mom, but like how does she feel? Like what is the importance for her? Like does she need like a feedback from home, or because I kind of feel like she doesn't frequently get back to her mom or people that are related. It's more like it happens when it happens, but not in between, if that makes sense.
Okay, that's a good question because she's written probably 3 letters back and forth during the time that we were in the college. But I feel Eos does care about her mom, but not in a way that seems very obvious. Staying in touch isn't something she would naturally prioritize, not because it doesn't matter, but she doesn't fully understand what it's supposed to feel like. She was homeschooled because of what she obviously is in the world that she lives in. And if she reaches out, it's usually for a reason. The last reason was that we were back at the house, everyone was there. She said a soft little goodbye. Her mom was taking a nap, but her mom replied to her, which was wonderful. I suppose there is something that's spoken underneath that she hasn't quite figured out how to express. But also the lack of pockets and currency for Eos stops her from sending letters.
And there's
Patriarchy
also
pockets.
there's also a question that I had like all the time, like when she revealed, for example, what happened with her and Drell. Like what was it for Eos being home, and how was the situation at home? Because I will feel like, okay, she made a significant change after that, because like that's the moment that Eos was created, basically. Before it was only Acticacy, right? So
Yeah.
or vice versa. I'm not sure who was first, but like how that does that translate to what was going on in the family at that time? Like how did Eos manage to stabilize within that, and does her parents know?
Yeah, that's a very good question because timeline-wise, this of course was all discussed within the campaign in the last 90 or so sessions. After Mission, the encounter with Drell, Remington showed up, and then she went back to the house before leaving. Like the session 0 was Eos's starting recovery physically, mentally. The trauma event had just happened 48 hours ago, and now you're being shipped out to this rando's freaking island.
I'm not sure I realized it was that close to the start of session. Actually,
It was
Yeah,
that
me
for
neither.
sure.
That's why I asked. Like, is that the same? What's the same reveal for me now that when Aldrin said when Dob said that Aldrin was kidnapped right before he went to college, kind of thing. So she never had a chance to actually reflect all that stuff with her mother, and like the person that I would say she would trust the most. So she doesn't know at all, and she doesn't know about Acticacy, right?
She knows Acticacy is there, like, and she knows it's inside herself. When she trances, there's constant communication. But the problem is, Eos, between the college and home, the home was just a recovery place, and then sent out. She was still healing during the whole carriage ride to the college when she met everyone. Yeah. She was in bandages.
Because like that also means that she never had the opportunity to really reflect on what was happening to her, and had nobody that she trusts to kind of talk through. So she's still in like a PTSD mode where she doesn't really know how to handle that. Just internally, subconscious, something evolved to prevent her from more pain, which translated into Acticacy taking over in sticky situations.
The split personality, yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. Trauma effect.
Yeah, that is super interesting. I have one more follow-up question for Dash, actually. Like, because that was also something that struck me after he became a dad. was like, do you let's phrase it that way, how does he manage the states between like full rage, kill on sight, and be more strategic in his actions and stuff? And do you think that being a father has changed some of that attitude towards one or the other?
I think it's kind of accelerated it. So, like, what you think about Dash is very young, relatively speaking. He's in his 20s, so he's like, from the guys I knew who were in their 20s, and me myself in my 20s, around the similar age. You're so kind of resolute in your beliefs at that point. It's kind of everything is black and white, and that's what Dash had his beliefs growing up in Palpros. When he got to that point, everything is black and white. There's good and bad, and there's a clear line between everything. And as you kind of mature through that, you make mistakes, you get exposed to different experiences, you travel, you broaden your horizons. A lot more gray kind of comes into it. So what we saw in Saika no Toshi was, I suppose, when Dash killed that guy, was very much the lashing out of a young, much more rebellious, angry man. That was kind of, I suppose, the young angry man lashing out, because he was kind of, these guys are evil. That's it. There's no in between. So that's what that was. And then you had the period after that. You had the extended period of time with Vathros, and then the children being born and all that. So what you're seeing is the difference between a man very firm in his and resolute in his beliefs, kind of young and idealistic, I suppose, moving into a man that's maturing and learning more about the world around him, and how it's not as straightforward as what he thought. So he's making mistakes, and he's learning from them. So there's still anger there, but it's much more tempered. Now, we would have seen that happen anyway, but there probably would have still been a bit more lashing out if we had kind of actually played out that 9 months in campaign. You'd have seen it slowly taper off. But the way that the time passed, it seems more sudden than what it is, I suppose, if you're living in it.
But in general, correct me if I'm wrong, to me it looks more like he's fighting the thing that these people are related to, AI, the King's Guard, for example. There's no personal growl against the person that stands for it. It's just like, you made the decision to be part of that crew. The crew is what I'm fighting, not this specific person there.
Yeah, that's still true, but how he fights it is changing, because it's not, all fire and brimstone. There is a bit more of a slightly more tactical edge to it now, because he's. I suppose he's seen firsthand the power of the monarchy as well, just from what they did in Saika no Toshi. So he's trying to be more clever in how he's doing it. He's trying not to be as emotional about it now. He's still lucky. He's gonna make mistakes when he's kind of going through this transition and learning and growing. He's probably made the biggest mistake of his life just a couple of sessions ago.
We come back to that later.
We'll come back to that later. Yeah. But yeah, it's trying to kind of display a bit of a evolution, because he's when he started the campaign, he was very, very far from a complete character. I wanted to play a young man finding his feet and having his beliefs challenged, and that's very much how it's kind of evolved.
That's why I asked. That's cool, because to me that's kind of the beauty. Like, it's super boring if you have like a character that doesn't evolve over time. And is the same pretty much the whole campaign.
Absolutely. Like, I think when we get to the end of the campaign, he's going to be so different to how he was at the start. Like the cocksure chap that could talk his way into anything. Like, that's not going to be who he is. Right at the end. So yeah. That would lead to my next question, actually. Like, in an ever-moving world, like, what was the most mind-blowing change in the world in general for you since we started? Like, because I feel like sometimes you enter like a dungeon master's world, and
after a while you kind of figure out, yeah, this is like this and this is like that. But I feel like in the Wandering Elves there has been a lot of situations where me as a player, I was like, oh yeah, this is clearly this, and then it turned out to be something very different, and I'm like, wait, what? It's changing, it's moving, it's evolving. Like, what was the most significant moment for you to like throw the question into the group, whoever wants to respond first?
Max and Saiga Natoshi.
Max?
Yeah.
Yep. There was a mech, yeah.
Yeah. Eos is from a village, which lore-wise is kind of like pre-industrial revolution. Candles, ice boxes, that kind of thing. And Evangelion enters Saiga Natoshi. Like, it's crazy. That was a shocker to me. Like, I know they exist in, you know, D&D, but you know, it's different when you see it.
Yeah, it hits different when you see it, right?
I think the time jump, like that's like, wait, okay, hang on, we're not when we were, or where we were, but when we were, but what? That's a bit like not what I expected. Player or character, like I did not see that kind of stuff coming.
Yeah, that definitely caught me off guard. Partly because I didn't know that was possible. Also, partly because there's a whole bunch of people that I didn't think would be involved in that sort of fuckery. Yeah, there's a lot going on in the universe.
Is it that like speaking about Westland specifically, I feel like after he woke up from his dreams, like I tried to understand how he felt. Like I would imagine if I would have dreamed for like 900 years or 800 years or something, and then what was the moment for him when he just realized he's not dreaming anymore? This is actually reality. Like, what the fuck now? Like, does he feel like his actions have more weight and consequences? And like, I don't know. I would imagine if I would sleep for like 800 years or be like subconsciously doing stuff, dream like, I don't know, and then waking up would be like, shit, now it's serious. I don't know.
In theory, right? He has been physically around for that period of time. It's not that he was just in some unconscious dormant state, right? He has been having physical lives as well as metaphysical lives all at the same time. Like an unraveled sweater or something like that. I think that the first time he began to like really solidify in his mind that this was maybe a reality that he was standing in and not a fabrication was entering Eldrin's dream for the first time. And there have been sequences from there that, as he calls them, anchors, as he anchors himself in this reality and this waking place, you know, like a wake, right? You know, where you've got like a thing and the water moves around it. That's that wake that follows.
Yeah,
that's his anchor. You know, to be awake is to have a wake or create a wake, a splitting of the current. That's what's giving him a sense of consciousness, more so than he probably has had in a long time, if he's ever had it before to begin with. At the moment, he's not even sure.
Yeah, what I meant was more like, yeah, he was physically around, but since he also lost a lot of memory every time he reincarnated, that's what I would reference like from listening to what he said about like the whole dreaming thing and stuff. I would imagine this is also hard to evolve yourself in character if everything that you've witnessed and be part of is lost again, you know? Like, how does Weston feel now since he doesn't forget anymore and all the things that he's going through kind of settle in and form his character a little bit more? Does he feel like to me, like the question would be like, does he feel his goal of going back to his family comes a little closer, since now a lot of his knowledge accumulates to make that push towards reaching that goal like more a possibility than just like starting all over every time?
It's not that he hasn't, or it doesn't have the risk of forgetting. He just hasn't forgotten yet, right?
Yeah.
His agreement with the squirrel, if that is the agreement, the whole agreement, the entire agreement, the only agreement, may eliminate the automatic reset at winter, right? It doesn't necessarily change the nature of his existence. So were he to keel over and not have fulfilled his contract, he's very likely to pop back up and have to start over. And he's well aware of that, more so than he probably has been before. Yeah, so he's quite conscious of the amount of time he has and what needs to be done, and the anchors around him. Not sure why they are around him or what they mean in the greater scheme of things, but they exist for a reason as well, whatever that is.
So for him to explore, right? Speaking of anchors and feeling the urgency of some of the stuff like Dash, it seems like family is sacred to Dash. Like, how in the world, I ask myself that like since weeks, how in the world did he slip up in a way that he gave away his mom's real name, and where she said like, what the fuck went through your mind when you spilled that out on the highest card of the king that might actually go there?
So this is so in that situation, in the museum, interacting with those particular people, Dash was back in his comfort zone, kind of like, this is what I do, this is what I've always done, this is how it's always worked. So he's going through the motions of doing what he's always done to succeed in this moment, to turn this particular thing into a win. And he severely underestimated his opponent in this particular instance, and he was so sure that he was onto a winner here, because he had flipped that switch in his head that he's back and basically dealing with people from Palperoth. He's, outside of that, in the run up to that, for basically the entirety of the campaign to this point, it kind of wasn't working, and he was kind of slowly going to your more standard rogue. But at this moment, he's like, I know exactly what I'm doing here, and it's always sprinkle the truth in with the lies kind of situation. So it was complacency more so than anything, that he was just so confident that he was doing exactly what needs to be done in this situation, that he just royally fucked up. And even, I suppose it wasn't until Vale came and showed him that wanted poster, and internally, now we haven't really discussed it in session yet, because we haven't had the chance for that kind of deep conversation. Maybe I touched on it a little bit. Internally, he is panicked. He is absolutely freaking out. We haven't got a chance to actually dig into that yet, but he is he's shook, for want of a better word. It's just it's one of those, like I said, it's probably the biggest mistake he's ever made, and he just did not think he was going to end up putting her in danger at all. So if we dig into it in session, it's a bit of a broken Dash that's there at the moment. Like, confidence is completely gone, and he's just, we'll find in the next few seconds, he doesn't know what to do now. He just could be, I think you're
his biggest mistake he's made so far. Yeah. Well, no character I make will ever be perfect. I'll always let them make mistakes. That's why I try to gear them a bit more to myself, so I can think naturally of what they would do in the situation. But
I really can't wait to see like what that will do to him, because I feel like, as you mentioned, like that is like his natural habitat, and he always got away with it and stuff. Like, if you make a slip like that where you sprinkle in too much truth to sell the lie, and you face an opponent for the first time that pretty much clanks onto these details and combine them and make the puzzle right, and you just sit there, oh shit, like that does something to you, I guess. So I'm very curious to see like what will it do to Dash, like in the approach of things, and that's gonna be super fun though.
It will be. Obviously, it depends on how that gets played out. I won't kind of say too much, but I can see two different ways it'll go, and either way will kind of dictate how Dash responds to it. But at the moment, he doesn't know, so his only thing is he needs somehow to communicate with her and kind of get her out of there.
Yeah. Like on that regard, I would have a question for Eos actually, because sometimes I feel like the like Dash's motivation now that he's a father and he's very vocal about like I want to just fucking kill the king and everything that is related to it. Westland has this whole journey with, man, I'm from back there. I'm like busy. I'm living in the future. I have to go back home. You know. Like sometimes I'm very intrigued. Like, what is the intrinsic motivation for Eos? What is her motivation to continue moving on with the groups? Like, what is her goals? What is like basically pushing her to go further? And why is she not going back home sorting books in the shop?
I mean, she would love to go back home and sort out the books. Absolutely. That was her job. That was her life.
I mean, she's not held there by force. Like, that's why I'm asking. Like, what is her intrinsic motivation to actually stay with the group? And, like, what does she think does she want to achieve with that, whatever that is?
I would suppose for Eos, she spent most of her life up to the point of, you know, before she went to college and such, understanding the world through those books, storybooks. That's all they are. They're all storybooks of various kinds, written in Seraphic. She understood them, but now she's in it. She is in a story. She doesn't know how it's going to work or how it's going to stop it, and she stays with the group because if she goes back, she's going backwards. She has learned so much about herself, her powers, what she's capable of, through being around you guys to this point. The group definitely do confuse her, more some than others, but you also make things feel real in a way that a book, the library, Dundercroft never possibly ever could. She's in continuous, constant danger, but she loves it.
So her approach is more like, okay, I know the world from books, but that's like knowing everything from hearsay. Now I want to witness what is the world about and what is the secrets to unveil.
Yeah, she wants to live a story that she can tell by herself.
I really would love to see like her exploring more and be more like, sometimes I envision her like more like a Tomb Raider kind of figure.
Ooh,
In some weird way, she gives that vibe to me, like,
I love
because
that.
she's curious, but also she doesn't give a shit. Like sometimes the switch that you do between like she's genuinely interested in something, and then but it also appears like she's just there and she's just like, oh, I don't care. Like, let's make a tea. Like, how do you,
books.
like, how does that fit into like that one person? What is the situations that make her very excited, and what is the situation where you go like, I'm just here, there's some books, I just sort them no matter what we do in here? Like, what is this thought process in Eos for these moments?
What I believe is the minute interests her. If there's a whole field of crazy stuff going on, that's great, but if there's a frog over there, she wants to look at the frog. She likes the tiny, weird, obscure.
So she doesn't feel any urgency, like she doesn't have these call for actions and stuff. Like there's something that she's interested in, and she just blends out everything else.
Yeah, we saw it with the little badger back in Hartwell. there was this huge battle going on in the field, but there was a badger crossing the road and she wanted to look at that for 20 minutes.
Interesting. So it is more like she has a natural phenomena in herself that she has a hard time to focusing and understanding what is important and what is not.
100%. Absolutely.
So she has ADS, okay? I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More likely.
Yeah, it's pretty much how that works.
Yeah.
Like,
Doesn't like Eki have like her own sense of urgency, like things that Eki needs to get accomplished in the
interesting thought.
greater scheme of things? I mean, Eki has been pretty clear about a very short list of things that she expects be done, and was quite forceful about it the last time she communicated it, with some threats, I think, in the background on that. So maybe Eos is shielded from that, but Eki certainly is not without her own laundry list of expectations and urgent needs.
True, that's very interesting. And to be clear for chat, so you can stop spamming. I translated from German. I mean ADHD, obviously. She's not aiming down sights.
No, not yet.
Yeah, no, just to make that clear. But like, it's a very interesting thought from John there, because
Yeah, that's a good point.
also in like split personalities, like in reality, they can have different type of architecture in certain illnesses and stuff, and that would be also super interesting. Like, it's like Eos in that way, because she is the character of them both that try to preserve the pure heart of things. So she's genuinely curious and locks in that moment, because in the back of her mind she knows if shit hits the fan, like Ecdicus is gonna be there to take over and like make shit right.
Yeah. Long ago in the sessions, Eos was either gifted or she was given a set of skills. You know, the good old market skills of grain and wheat and such. The idea behind that was a visual representation of Ecdicus and Eos in the one, who's doing a bit more what's happening. That is currently back in the Bastion. So there is a continuous balancing act between Eos falling a bit more towards Ecdicus rather than herself. And Eos.
And there was like, I don't know where I read it. I read it somewhere. I think John was writing about it somewhere. Like they are still one, right?
Oh,
so is it now that like they both try to find a way to exist in one again, or is one actually trying to take over the other? Because, for example, like Ecdicus, which feels to me like more the dominant person of the both, tries to get rid of that what she sees as weakness, and just tries to like power scale to be untouchable, to never get that feeling of not having control anymore? Or is it more like that they both seek for kind of reuniting?
Can't answer that question. That's a really good one though.
All right.
Spoilers.
More into the general scheme of things. Like we talked about a lot of what drives the characters and stuff, but now I want to ask for, like, there's a whole battle for influence and power. You know, what is your theories about the different factions and their goals?
Great.
I would like do a more specific question for that, because I think it's a huge topic. Like, so we learned about core factions. I think there's like 3 core factions that we learned about so far. It's like the Archon and the Thieves Network, the King, and especially the subdivision like the CRU, and Simodecker and the Megaverse Company. Like, how do you think, how important are sub-factions, and how do they evolve, and what other factions might there be that like are in this constant battle for influence and power? And what are the goals? What do you think?
I'd imagine that the likes of the CRU, because they don't have any intrinsic loyalty to the king, I imagine this is my own personal theory, they want to be the ones of the ultimate power. I think they would unseat the king if it suited their goals. I'm starting to think that the king doesn't have as much influence as what it would appear. Clearly, the Archon is puppeting him to a degree. So I feel like, I feel like it all kind of comes back to like a higher level battle with like the Archon versus something else. Like maybe CRU versus the Archon is going to be like the ultimate decider of where things go at the highest level. Yeah, but that's more of a feeling than anything.
Let's remember that CRU was established before the fall of Timurat, before Iker was destroyed by Maleficum. So it had a function before that point, and it continues, I think, the mission of its founder, who wasn't too fond of what Maleficum was doing. You're dealing with an entity that is very similar to the Brotherhood of Steel in the fact that they are collecting powerful creatures. Harrow, of course, being a rogue agent of CRU, I think that she exists as her own. She exists as her own faction, right? She might be connected to CRU, but she has her own monstrous plots that she's doing. CRU, much to your point, I think, is looking to take some level of dominance, some level of control, just like the Brotherhood of Steel in their collection of technology to dominate the planet, to be the ones to rebuild it. Clearly, we're dealing with a schism in the universe with the number of blood moons showing up, which may or may not have something to do with Decker and his attempts to go to space. And why the fuck would he want to go to space, right? That was episode 3 or 2 that he was abundantly clear about his overarching goal. And then, of course, we discover that he's got his own number of weird magic creatures in test tubes running his devil ships. And there, of course, we're only speaking of factions on RNS, right? We've got any number of other factions that we should probably take into consideration as we get to higher tiers of play and are planet hopping, most likely at some point. I think that's very likely to happen, because we're going to have to deal with these factions as they go. Whether it's the Archon trying to open a door to some tower, which who knows what that's about, or the King trying to reassert his authority on the planet RNS, or Harrow doing whatever the fuck Harrow is doing, baking cookies for evil. I don't know.
I feel like she's just a bit of kind of loosey-goosey, just doing whatever the fuck she feels like kind of a situation, really. Maybe. But all of it is about control and cutting off a slice of the pie as the world breaks. Because inevitably that's probably what's going to happen. Maybe Decker knows that it's time to get off this rock and go conquest some other one. Maybe he is Elon Decker.
He gives that vibe, right?
Yeah,
I have the same. He really much gives that vibe.
Yep.
Don't trust him.
Yeah.
What does Rory?
I have a list of these things in the Discord. There's a whole this is what's happening.
For those who know, they know, John.
My theory: Archon is after world domination. I believe money is in with Simil Decker from the Archon to Simil. I would agree to an extent of what Keen thinks about the King, and someday Eos is going to wear that crown.
What?
I don't see that happening.
Where's my daggers?
Mr. Rory, but like, dreams are your reality. It's
Exactly.
I thought it was Eldrin. I thought Eldrin was like destined to wear the crown.
Well, he's not here.
Yeah, but to be a cruel, ruler.
You can't call dibs.
Yeah, wasn't like when he became a cleric of Corpus in his dream, and he took over the world and did himself a Genghis Khan.
As the son of the king, I think Dash has the first say in who becomes the next.
Clearly,
But mind you, that was a cool visual that DM painted for us in the dream. That caught me off guard. So I was like, okay.
I mean, dreams don't lie.
Yeah, you never know. Dad
I don't
might
know.
be stepdad, you know.
Yeah,
Yep.
Daddy. I mean, we might find out if Dash's mom ends up like not dead, and we're like, hang on, she should be.
Man,
Maybe there's some protection there. Yeah.
I mean,
You have-
That would be an indicator, though.
Looking at the map behind us, though, we haven't uncovered much.
Yeah, actually,
we
I
hang
have
out
I have a
much.
question for the M as well. Maybe you can put it in chat. Like, is that map inspired by some Path of Exile kind of mechanics? Because it
Let's go
pretty
to
much
Indiana
looks
Jones.
like it. There's like one mechanic in Path of Exile 2, no, in Path of Exile 1, that lets you make like a board, and it looks, I swear, it looks the same. That's cool. That's just for me curiosity. Like, it gives me that vibe. Speaking of like, what John said about like CIU and what their role might have been, even in the times of the Maleficum and before the Sun King was made and stuff. Do you think that the fracture that have seen to drag some entities or essences from different realms to RNS, do you think that some of the factions' actions are still related to the fact that people that were native to RNS without all these influence of essences or individuals that came over with the Great Cataclysm, is that just their attempt to save their own home world? Or is it more like general power preservation? Like we had that influence and power within society and stuff, and now there's like these powerful entities that try to challenge our rulership or whatever.
it's both. 100%, it's 100% both, and we can look at it through the lens of language, right? Seraphic is a language that comes from another planet. It has nothing to do with RNS, and yet it's used in powerful magic, dealing with divine beings, in clerical liturgy. There's I forget the name of the dark tongue that everybody was speaking in super foolishly in that tavern, but that's also not a tongue that's native to this planet. That also carries a lot of weight. These are words of power that influence change. And when you're dealing with something as cataclysmic as the Battle of Emissaries, where this level of magic is being used, not just to the extent of nuking a city and nearly an entire population of people, but also destroying an entity that is made up of this magic. I think that's going to be one of those things that we're going to have to deal with, right? You know, I think, yeah, it is about power preservation, but it's also about grasping new power, because there's a giant hole in the sky. There's a hole in the ozone, and all eyes are now on this space where their sheer existence can bring about immediate and tumultuous change.
So do you think like characters like Dr. Harrow, for example, she kind of understood that the future doesn't lie in only preserving the past, but also trying to make use of the powers that have sipped into this world by trying to control them and harness them to get more power, so powerful herself.
And manipulate them, take that power and find new ways to create permutations. She's running an extended science experiment, probably to understand it. And maybe that's where her intentions were at the very beginning. Certainly not where they are now. And certainly that is a tangent from what CRU is doing about all of this stuff. They have a whole different application of what they are gathering, what they are learning, maybe even a different understanding of what even it is.
So do you think that could be a reason like why the king is also searching for artifacts to kind of make the same move as he sees a lot of different people do, to kind of power out the others because he's kind of the first?
I think he's doing that for the Archon. That's my theory there. The Archon is collecting those artifacts because he knows something that the king doesn't know, but whatever he's got in the king, he's making the king pick up these artifacts for him. I mean,
to be fair, like we also learned that the stone, the rule stone from the kin, is behind the throne. So I would argue the king must know something, and
he definitely knows something, but that there's something. The Archon clearly has some power over him. Whatever that power is, like, it must be something massive to kind of. I mean, like
when we talk about like controlling Isles and stuff, like, do you think the control is more direct, or is it more like an indirect control in terms of, I can cut off your supplies or whatever, like how you would imagine like economic pressure would work today? Do you think it's more like that global trade kind of pressure that the Archon is doing, or do you think he has like a personal fire from him, like, I know a little something about you?
Yeah, I think it's more personal. I think the Archon has like a personal blackmail kind of thing over the king, and is coercing the king to then use economic influence. Because as I understand it, it's not like he doesn't directly rule all of our borders kind of thing, but he has a sphere of influence that's beyond Desolata. So he regardless, he's in charge of the economic powers, so he can influence everything there anyway. So I think it's a personal blackmailing kind of situation with the Archon, that he is then by proxy in control of all of the Isles.
And I like related to that, like how would you, like, I would imagine if he has some kind of blackmail, I think I would define the weaknesses of the king as follows: like, he is dependent on how the citizens view him as a king to a certain degree, right?
So that they think is in power kind of situation.
So I kind of think his biggest fear is that the civilians have like a point where they turn against him as kind of a rebellion and stuff. So do you think like the Archon is playing with that kind of weak point? Because in my mind, like a megaverse company would have like way more economic force than like the Archon would have, because like the advanced technology that drags like funds, because everybody wants that advanced technology, even the king and the Archon. Like, and what do you think is the relationship between all the three of them? Because I feel like they have like some kind of relationship, and sometimes they even cooperate on certain topics, and that doesn't translate to this theory that they would like only work for themselves in kind of ways.
I feel like there's almost a bit of naivety to Decker, in that he thinks himself above it, and that he's focused on his mission, kind of almost a bit like Steve Jobs at Apple kind of thing, how he was focused on building this thing, and he has things to, or you could like Elon Musk going to Mars kind of situation, political stuff aside. So I think Decker is so almost hyper focused on his mission, is very one-mindedness, and he's dealing with the other two kind of almost, I have to deal with them because I'm operating in this space, but he doesn't actually care about the whole politics of it all. He just wants to do this.
We're also operating on the assumption that is the king.
Yeah. Might be Slate.
I as a player am not convinced that that's the king. nor am I as a player convinced that the Archon has that kind of grip on the king. I view the king more like the Emperor in Dune, who really is kind of hands off, lets his families do their thing. They kind of fuck around with each other. He's got control of all the wealth, and it will eventually probably come to bite him in the ass for being so aloof or distant. Whoever this guy is in Ombudon, I don't see the king going personally to make this exchange. I don't buy it.
It depends, because I mean his primary guard is definitely there, so he wouldn't go.
It's a good ploy, but that might not be his primary guard either.
Yeah, a double would also get the primary guard to make it look real in that regard, right? What do you think, Rory?
So, the way I see it, I don't think the king at this point realistically would be, what's the word? Tiltable by the Archon. I view the Archon as just a sneaky businessman from Southside Dublin or whatever. I don't generally believe a person.
Dublin, don't do that to him. Poor Archon. Doesn't deserve that.
Yeah, but in general, I don't personally. Again, this is just me viewing it from the perspective of EOS, because EOS really doesn't care anything about taxation or politics in the campaign. Yeah, I don't think the king would be influenced by the means of the Archon or whatever the Archon's up to. Again, I only know EOS's perspective of a major on his backstory. That whole thing, we don't get too much of an opportunity to have Beyond the Isles with Orion either, which is unfortunate, this kind of discussion, because he has a big insight into the Archon specifically. My opinion, Sigma Decker is building his mechs. He's aiming to do some big shenanigans. Harrow, however, for EOS was interesting. Because of what EOS is, I thought Harrow would have a much larger interest in her, but the reality was EOS showed up on Ducky, talked to Harrow, and EOS used elementism to create water to feed her plants without then realizing these plants would turn into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and start attacking everyone. But Harrow never wanted to talk about, or to EOS ever after that point that I'm aware of. The only time they walked past each other in the college, it was perfectly chill. Hey, how you doing? Great to see you. Talk to you later. So yeah, in terms of the larger aspect of it from like a political perspective, I side with John here. I think the king is like omnipotent in what he's up to. I really don't think he cares for the Archon or whatever the Archon is doing. Looking at the map itself in terms of influence, it is also very possible that EOS and Wesden may have been too far beyond the reach of the Archon geographically. That's not a potential possibility too. I think the Archon is just waving a big PP without realizing how tiny it is.
I mean, there's clearly, even in the world that EOS lives in, like places like Saigon or Toshi, they were always like, how can I say, aligned with the kingdom, if that makes sense. So there was some kind of influence in a certain way, as you would feel there is like the attempt of a united kingdom kind of thing, which is also interesting because in my mind, like, okay, there is this king and stuff, but we still haven't figured out, at least that's how I feel, where does the influence end? Like, what are the enclaves that are more autonomous? Yeah, the king, but nobody goes there and cares. Like, because I think, like, how could a faction like the werewolves, for example, survive in a scenario where there would be total control? So I feel like it's more like a union that is aligned to the king, but in the union are still factions that play more towards kingdomship than others. I don't know.
Yeah, we still have to go to Gomglor, which is apparently an island full of...
Yeah, it's a prison island, buddy. Don't
No,
worry
no,
about
there's no
it.
prison. I don't
Full of witches.
It is. It is basically
There's
the abandoned
boats
island.
everywhere.
It's like, you know,
It's Lanzarote. It's nice. It's chill.
you gotta go there eventually. Right?
Didn't Bird Lady say not go there? I think Bird Lady said don't go there.
Don't know. Just
What about you, Hatsu, though? Like, Hatsu, of anybody in the party, aside from Madriana, who's related to the Archon, Hatsu has a particular relationship to both the Archon and what has been done to Saigo Notoshi, but also the king, who Saigo Notoshi has a relationship with. And Hatsu is technically a baron, you know, who is next in line to the throne. How is Hatsu handling all of this? Because of everybody in the party, he's the most politically involved in these factions.
Yeah, for Hatsu, he kind of understands the move that happened on Saigo Notoshi. For him, it's more like a demonstration of power, especially with the people that were involved. And he doesn't think that what happened specifically happened to Saigo Notoshi because necessarily of the Archon or the king that was too late to show up at the party to save something. But there was clearly, like, in his mind, the Archon wanted something that his brother might have teased him into, that he might be able to get it there. And I think his interest was more about Remington than Saigo Notoshi in itself. But he would know that Remington is very much connected to Saigo Notoshi because of the stance of the Maleficum inside that area, that he would have to blitz it basically to get Remington. And I think that Drakkar was trying to take advantage of that fact and gain back a position that he never had, to kind of show everybody, no, you go fuck yourself, I'm here now and you can't do nothing about it. And I'm gonna take from my family heritage what was dragged away from me without asking myself, you know. I feel like Hatsu doesn't have like a big hate against any faction of this. He understands that Saigo Notoshi was basically the place where a lot of threats came together, and he pretty much honors what his father did there. He doesn't fully understand why and what actually happened in the past to relate to this point, but in his mind, in his meditation, his reflection on that was more like, if you have severe depth because you impacted someone's life in a regard that they had no way to go else, you can't basically judge somebody on what he has evolved into, because your action forced that individual to go that road because there was no other opportunity for him. And that was the only way to make himself visible again and to make a statement on how the world treats individuals that don't fit in. So he doesn't necessarily have a growl against his brother, nor does he feel sad about his father. It's more like the people of Saigo Notoshi that give him a headache, because he feels like they are in the middle of everything and it's not their fault. And in his mind, it's more about what his family stands for, which is his first duty is protecting the people of Saigo Notoshi. And he doesn't think much about like how his family legacy is going to continue, or the relations to the king or to whomever. The first responsibility of his house is the people of Saigo Notoshi, and that's why he's not that hesitant about doing everything he can to kind of help them stabilize again on the Pearl. which would lead me to my next question, actually. Like, what do you think is the role of the Maleficum in Aranes? Because, like, through the times, whatever law we witnessed, there was always somehow a Maleficum involved in some of these shenanigans. Like, what do you think about it? Why is that? What do you think?
I'm trying to figure out if I even trust any of the Maleficums anymore. Like initially, like Remington, yeah, top dog, great man. Not so sure anymore after the whole Vathros thing.
I think the Maleficums were potentially the main house, the main family when the fracture occurred. And the Maleficums we were coming across, specifically Kaelor, because Kaelor to Eos was a wonderful friend, wise friend, friend-shaped, etc. She's great. That's why I feel they were the main drivers or the main house within the Isles at the time when the fracture occurred, and the Maleficums we're seeing now and meeting are somewhat like second, third, fourth cousins of those, potentially, depending on the timeline.
Diluted version.
Yeah. Like, still a Maleficum, obviously crazy but cool. And the experiment she was up to was insane. But how far back time-wise we're talking, or bloodline, I'm not too sure right now. Because I don't know exactly what species they are, how long they live for, that kind of thing.
And clearly Kaelor is up to something as well. Like, well, our characters aren't really fully aware yet, but about the level we know she's not been totally... Yeah, she's cooking something, but she's not been totally upfront of what the recipe is to us.
Yeah, you can't trust Maleficums. It was the dragon who tore open the sky and nuked up entire civilization.
Right, we should talk to Christy Moore.
Yep, we should talk to Christy Moore. I tried to earlier,
All
but
roads
he
lead
was
back to Christy.
Yeah, he wasn't there. But
did you?
But
hang on,
you know,
I know
Maleficums.
why you forgot to bring your shovel.
Oh yeah, I should have brought my shovel. But you know, Maleficums though are just one part of the pie, right? You know, the Maleficums. Stella was, you know, what's the word I'm looking? An archetype, right? She was an archetype within the emissaries. People that the kin referred to as the golden ones, the starbound. These are people who were above the average, like beyond heroes, right? These were, you know, legends who controlled incredible power through one archetype or another. And they exist. I think Battle of the Emissaries was what, in the 300s, somewhere around there, you know, and we don't really know what happened in year zero exactly.
Yeah.
But Christy Moore was talking about, you know, being on the mountain, you know, in the negative years before the temple was even built by Stella. All of these archetypes, of course, after the schism, some of them died. I think all of them died, except maybe Stella. And this is post Stella's fuckery with seals. I mean, they've been doing some stuff with the universe using high-level magic for quite some time. Not just Stella, you know, and we can't just focus on the sins of the Maleficum family and the rights that they must make. Yeah, well, listen. Let's stick with it.
All these witches, send them to sea.
That's right. Well, it's not the witchery that bothers Weslin. It's their responsibility in the schism, their role in that, and it's not just the Maleficums. There were several other members of the emissaries, you know, who we don't speak about much, but one was the founder of CRU. And that legacy continues, and that legacy is equally as damaging in the world. There are others, you know, who had other roles, and they, including Iker, right? And Iker's influence still continues, and there are still people who are influenced by that activity, who seek that power, potentially, you know, through the unnamed one himself, or you know, maybe the cult that's dealing with Eldrin has a lot to do with the attempt to learn the 1,000 secret names of darkness. Yeah, this isn't just about maleficums. The sins of the emissaries are wide and continue to rumble beneath the surface as the universe falls apart.
It's the year 1543 according to Foundry right now, so who knows?
It's true.
Yeah. To me, it's super fascinating. Like from an outside perspective, like I sometimes try to get my head around like how can Weslin, like in one sentence, like think like all this cruelty and all the magic wizardry fuckery stuff they do, but he's like bound by contract to an entity that kind of does the same. Like how does he like split this in his mind that is a total opposite things, like one and the other?
I mean, he understands that these creatures that come from other planets they're not bound by the same law as the kin, as himself. And he, of course, is responsible for the sins that he himself has committed. And he recognizes that and has said many times that he has committed many sins, he has broken many laws, and his one goal is to get home, and he fully accepts what is coming to him, what is due to him. He will face the ocean. He will be put on a boat. He understands that. And he is doing what he can as gently as he can with the power that he has, whether it's through borrowed power, whatever fuckery is happening right now in this, like wherever we are, that seems to be potentially from him personally. That's some dangerous fuckery that he also, I think, needs to come to grips with, because that's well beyond the witchery that he's very against.
So does he, like, by heart has the attitude that he says, like, all of that power is basically poison for creatures, and people should understand to live closer naturally together as it's supposed to be?
Magic wielded by humans, if the dragon was a human, though she's a dragon, so like that also gets kind of messy, right? Is a like overwhelmingly bad thing. We have demonstrated over 1,000 years how bad magic is when wielded by humans. Weslin also recognizes that at this stage he's probably not human, may have never been human to begin with, which further complicates his relationship with it. But while he exists in this world on Aranness, he understands that it is something that should be carefully utilized, even when he is recklessly not following his own approach to it. He has a sense of urgency and he has to get home, and there is no time. There is no time.
When you spoke of it, like actually to the round, to the group, like what do you think is the mysterious faction behind that tries to kidnap Aldrin all the time? Because I think like it has come up from time to time, but not really, and it is like the family topic we don't talk about. That makes
I think
sense.
it's Orbis.
Yeah, I believe Eos's biological father is somewhat involved with it.
Really?
Oh, do you think so?
Yeah.
Like how?
It's just a vibe. The stuff that was in the Undercroft that Dash and Amaziana discovered, the secret tunnel, secret door, secret tunnel,
Secret tunnels.
that Eos never bothered to notice because it's her own room. Why would you go gawking around the place? I personally believe there's something in there that her biological father has some kind of relation with, because it's kind of sus stuff that's happening, and he was a bit of a sus guy.
So do you think like Eos's biological father has something to do with the faction that tries to kidnap Eldrin.
Eldrin, yeah.
They obviously don't try to kill him. They would have several chances to do so, but they didn't. So
That's true.
Was Eos's biological father like a cultist type of situation, do you think?
She didn't really know him at all.
See, I presume Cult of the Unnamed One, that's my assumption of who's going after Eldrin, and that's why they would refer to him as unholy. That's kind of the only hint we have, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that could be a sign. That would be
he had the symbol of the Unnamed One after one of the occasions, right?
Yeah, which has been referred to many times, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, but I
I
think
think it's the Unnamed One.
But he had his symbol.
Yeah, I think that's to throw off the
Did
scent.
he have it at the time, though?
It's Corvus. It's totally Corvus. This is a Corvus play.
You reckon?
100%. That's my theory going on it. I don't think the Unnamed One cares that much about any of this. He's out of the family. He's not really bothered. But Corvus has also been estranged by the family.
Corpus is also cast away.
Estranged.
Yeah.
But he has a name, and of anybody who would be following somebody, the easiest one to form a cult around would be Corvus. And Corvus, being the snake father, would be quite keen on throwing the scent off wherever he could. Corvus is a plotter. The Unnamed One isn't necessarily much into that from the description we have. It just kind of...
I'm gonna come back to that later. Like before we do that, like general words, theories, and stuff. I want to go back to a place that is very significant to the group. Like, how do you feel about from Crescent Pearl to Rising Pearl? what like all the changes that place has gone through, and like. What do you feel about all the changes of such a significant place? And it's also like center map, and that does mean something usually.
Oh man, waking up one day and realizing your house has been demolished and like the rubble's just there. It's like, oh great. I like the fact that we
not
now
against Zeus.
Yeah, but like I like the fact that we, as a group, get to build our own bastion. We get to work on it collectively and play Sims for a while, and that kind of stuff. I really enjoy that. And I love the fact that we have our little meetings, we talk about it, we do planning, Hatsu's out there trying to organize groups, do different things. Eldrin's out there in the medical tent is talking with Veilit sus quite an amount. And Wezin's after making his own little cottage with a sign that says don't walk on the grass yet. We walk on the grass.
Keep out of the forest, man.
Wait, is Weslin just the old man from Up?
From what?
From Up.
Up?
He has his own little thing, the big conglomerates around him. He's just like, nope, get off my grass, I'm not moving.
Look at him as a frame with tennis balls.
Yeah.
And Chicken just needs a collar that lets him speak, and then it's over.
We don't want to hear what he has to say, honestly.
No, we probably don't.
I would love to hear what he has to say.
Really?
I don't think we're ready. That'd be like Indiana Jones' Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls when she got too much information. I think that's what would happen.
Yeah. But yeah, bastion building is fun. Of course, what happened to the cause was sad for everyone. I think we all really got hit in the chest by that one. Yeah.
Ashton's had really had time to process it, to be quite honest, because he's just like, fuck, I got kids, I can't think about that right now.
Yeah, mortgage application. Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Yeah. It's like,
but it does.
College gone? Grant. Okay, wait, what?
It does send it to the party, though, further into the fuckery that's going on globally and universally. It being a central point, and again being tied to the Maleficums, but it's only one point of power. As we've discovered, there are a few that we know of and have been to, so they're going to be critical points to control, to have access to. At some point, we'll need to potentially be in position to activate all of them in some way, shape, or form, which may require more than just having access to a Maleficum.
Multiple Maleficums in
Do
multiple
you think-
seals.
Do you
Maleficums are
think?
Pokemon.
Mhm.
Do you think the group kind of represents that?
The emissaries?
Ones?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think so. They're just above the table, knowing how our DM structured our last campaign. Yeah, I think so.
No. What? No.
What? No, hardly.
There's more of us than there were the emissaries. So
That's
let's
not
reveal
what I
the new
said.
prime number.
I asked, do you think that the group is structured together in that way, and that Remington had a reason why he did bring specifically us together?
For sure.
Oh yeah.
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 Maybe not a
We
good
all
reason.
have a big skill set collectively.
Sus.
So
We'll say though.
Don't trust the dragon.
But the Bastion.
Don't do it.
secret mission.
In our campfire chat, we had very different ideas of the Bastion. We had freaking submarines. We had the ideas of putting like somewhere else completely different, secret freaking everything. And lo and behold, we ended up back in the Pearl, and we went, okay, push the button.
That'll do.
It made the most sense. Like
It
it makes the most sense.
So in that
And
even
regard,
naturally, too.
what is your vision for the Pearl, though?
Reestablish the Maleficum element. And see
I
what
really
happens.
want like a tea room, like where, so we have like, you know, the docks with sailors coming off the docks, and they can come in and have tea, and then we can get information, you know.
And they go,
Kind of
Brandy, you're a
Yeah,
lovely girl.
exactly.
Safe haven for the lost.
Yeah.
Safe haven for the last. Okay. What does the Pearl mean to your character then?
What's the character mean to the Pearl?
What does the Pearl mean to your character?
It's a weird one for
Is it,
Dash,
like,
because it kind
I
of turns
asked-
his world upside down.
I kind of asked that question because I feel like everything the group is made of, and their first initial memories and stuff that they went through together was in the Pearl, right?
Yeah.
So in my mind, I would think that it is a significant place for the group in that regard, not necessarily like a personal attachment to that area,
It's just
but
kids
like,
were conceived there.
yeah.
Jeez.
God.
That's
I mean, we're not
canon.
sure.
No.
Technically, they were produced in Volcanus, maybe. In the
No,
tin
we
or something.
myself and Ken, we worked out the maths. Funny enough, I worked out that same episode where
You kissed her?
Dash and Melissa kissed. We actually worked out the time in game. We're like, oh shit, it actually perfectly matches that exact night. So,
One hell of a kiss, brother.
When Dash lost his
That was a very
virginity, he became a
fruitful
man.
kiss.
they held hands without gloves.
Oh my god, that's
You know?
Yeah,
great swimmer.
she was stabbing him.
But
Called,
yeah, the
called her
Pearl
Peggy that night.
really represents the real start point. You know, the whole your story begins after 4.5 hours of chopping down wood and things.
Like the Assassin's Creed intro,
In
like
Odyssey?
after you play like 10 hours, and then
Yeah.
it's coming over like
That's the
Camera
Bastion to use.
yeah.
Sorry, that's the Pearl.
One and the same now.
It is.
Yeah, I don't know. Like to because like from Hatsu's perspective, he's not attempting to create a new home for the people of Saigon Otoshi. He's making more like a shelter until they can return, like a refuge camp. But in his vision, that's pretty much what the Pearl ever was. A refuge for people that get cast away from the rules and boundaries of the ordinary world, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like a place they can rest and relax, and then
To him, it means a safe haven for people that are like-minded, regardless if they wield magic or not. It's more about the attitude of the people that he tries to establish there. And that's kind of his vision for the Pearl too, to like move on in the memories Fuck shit, I was laugh because of the comment in chat. For fuck's sake! You can't get pregnant from a kiss, and I don't allow that you establish that in our world.
It's canon now. It's canon. It happened. It's
It depends
canon.
which lips he was kissing.
Look, Mr. DM. Like, we talked so much about, like, there has to be consensus if you want to teleport somebody and shit. Like, I don't allow that without consent. The fucking kiss happened, and then he made it pregnant.
We'll just put it out there. We never RP'd what happened like late that night after the kiss. That just, you know, that happened off screen.
Pretty
over
sure
there.
Shaq wanted that though. But yeah.
Yeah, it was hot.
Yeah, that's dictatorship, Mr. DM. We don't allow that either.
Dictatorship? What?
Sheesh.
Back to the topic. So it's more like, reestablishing like a true refuge for people that are like-minded, that people want to make a change and establish a being together rather than fighting off what is seen as a threat for general power and stuff. And why do you think the Maleficum chose that spot? I think John dipped in a little bit, and I'm kind of interested in the rest of the group. Like, what do you think? Is there very specific spots in RNS that yield like a specific kind of energy and power? And if so, who and why do you think these spots get controlled by?
Well, RNS is flat Earth and Pearl is in the middle, so naturally. Yeah.
It's the spoke. You know, the rod and the spoke. You know, the axle. Is that the right word I'm looking for here? Each member,
isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. Each member of the emissaries had a bastion, and each bastion was located in a important and powerful location. Like there's nothing like preventing the possibility that the forage on the volcano possesses or contains a bastion belonging to one of the 5 emissaries of Paragon. Why is it that volcano is what it is? Well, it's probably because, you know, like it was built that way. It was fostered to be that way. A controlled spot. Just like the mountain that the Arcanum was built into, the temple up top. All of those books in Seraphic, Christy Moore, in his Eternal Watch, the seal, like place up there to be found. I'm certain that there are 3 other places that we just haven't considered that are equally in such a state. So yeah, the pearl's important because of its relationship to the greater web of magic that holds the whole place together.
So who do you
I want to
think
draw lines on the map through all those major locations and see if there's an intersection somewhere.
So who do you think, John, the volcano is related to?
Well, definitely not Crew, because that's well beyond what he liked. But there was a swordsman in the Paragon of Emissary, and I cannot remember the name of the swordsman, but I believe that they were super into building weapons and such. That would make sense that they were somehow associated with that. The other 2 members, one was a healer, and the other one was... So she would not be the volcano. I forget who the other one was. There were 5.
Yeah, but what I mean is also like, like on the Pearl there was a temple, right? Do you remember what that temple was related to?
Christy Moore.
It was related to Stella. It was her personal.
No.
Like her bastion.
What was the place of worship? Do you remember, guys? I think it was specifically said. That's why I ask again.
I don't think it was related to one god. I think it was all of them.
Exactly. And like
the concept of the family.
Yeah, and that is super significant to me because usually places of worship is dedicated to one entity.
Yeah, singular.
In general, right? So, but that spot was different, and it also hit me like, okay, it is the middle, and there is a temple that is kind of a gathering hub of all of them, you know, and that really did stick with me, because I thought like, yeah, sure. Also, the gods would have like a commune room where they would meet and talk about stuff. Because in the end of the day, it's also family, right? It's just not like ordinary factions that come together. Like, and families maybe need like a living room or kitchen to meet in. You know?
Yep.
Well, but it also didn't function in the same rule set as the. I'm going to use prime material. There's not realms, but we're going to go with prime material just to use some nomenclature here. It was a place that was infinite, and in theory, if you understood how those chambers worked, you could go to a different planet that way. You know, just like the woods are an access point for weird squirrel planet with the circus, and its own, you know, version of the Arcanum wrapped in vines. Most likely, those other points of interest, those other places of power, the volcano, for example, may actually lead to some other planet through a centralized location like that. Not just the Forge, but like some sort of mystical channel. The Forge is just an outpouring of that power, right?
Yeah, like an anchor point, like universally speaking, in such a way, like the pyramids on Earth were placed. Kind of in that regard, I would figure.
Where things are thin, you know. There's a concentration of the currents of memory,
currents,
of knowledge.
Weave.
Sure. I mean, however you want to describe it. You know, vast collections of knowledge, you know, would be a vast pool of power.
In that regard, like speaking of fog of war, things we might not know yet, there's surely a lot of things that we haven't explored yet. What else do you expect behind the fog of war? We talked also about like we learned that there's werewolves. Like, what else do you think can we find in RNS?
I'd hope to find vampires as a collective community. That'd be cool as hell. Just personally, I think that's really freaking dope. We may eventually come across some kind of sea elves, potentially, that kind of thing. Elves are called Aelvar in Wandering Isle, so the sea version of them, potentially somehow.
I fully suspect there'll be Elvar in Palperoth hiding in plain sight, actually.
Quite possibly.
I have a suspicion that some of the nobles there, if when we get there, you guys will be like, hang on a second, Dash, that person that you know, do you know them? I'm like,
he's my best man, my buddy.
That's, yeah, exactly. He's like, did you notice the ears, Dash? Huh? What?
He always wore hats.
Yeah, he always wore hats and earmuffs. So yeah, it's just strange in a desert city, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What comes to my mind is a giant squid
Dude,
in a big, huge cave.
I forgot.
And like a whole labyrinth of tunnels and stuff. And we found places of worship for the unnamed one. But surely, like such a creature in such a place with no further details, I ask myself sometimes, aren't we curious enough? Like, I feel like in game, we didn't unveil a lot of those stuff in terms of research and stuff. And maybe, do you think this is one of the creations of Corbrus that we haven't explored that much and haven't learned a lot about yet?
I feel like when we settle the bastion a bit better and get some structure going, we will have to go out on little dispatch missions for this kind of stuff, because that giant squid is a curiosity. Slate was the only one who actually got, if I remember correctly, close enough to it, and Slate's gone on holiday for who knows. But yeah, we need to go back there, because that was like session late 20s, early 30s, if I believe correctly.
Something
That was
like that,
before Eldrin. That was just like a few sessions away from Hartwell.
That was the very first mission actually that we did for Remington, like to go to Volcanus and meet Wolver. Yeah.
A giant squid in a cavern system? Like,
You ever heard of an aboleth?
yeah.
You
Friend
don't want to
shaped.
get in the water.
Oh, no, friend shaped.
Not friend shaped. No.
Totally friend
No.
shaped.
Mm.
Get in the seal. Come on.
Mm. 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 Mm.
Yeah, speaking of the gods, we have explored some places of worship like Tempestus, Minerva, unnamed one. But I ask myself a lot of the times, why does it seem like we haven't seen or heard much about the others? What do you think?
Oh,
I have theories on the twins. I don't think that related to the twins that were born recently. I think I have other theories about those two. But the twins, the hell is their name?
Aureus and Erius.
Aureus and Arius, the trickster and the protector, the gods of enchantment, abjuration, and illusion.
Yeah.
They share. I think they share enchantment.
They do.
So like they're silent, but I think this is because the gods are in general silent, because they may be spiraling out of control as the planets spiral out of control. Don't know. They probably will come into play at some point.
We've come across many temples of Minerva and Tempestus so far, but like very little of the others. It is a bit of a curiosity. Again, could just be where we've been. We've only maybe uncovered 20% of the map.
That'd be
It's like-
generous.
I'm also curious because as far as I understand, like how like these entities function in the Wandering Isles is also they kind of relate to a certain degree of worship to gain power. So, like these prayers and thoughts create like an equilibrium that they dig power from, kinda. So I was curious, like how these entities maintain power if we don't find active places of worship or not even heard of some of them. Like
That's a
The use
damn
of
good
magic.
question.
Because they're tied intrinsically to certain schools of magic. There is an argument to be made that worship is done indirectly through the use of their power, which is, whether direct or indirect, acknowledgement of their existence.
so you mean
right.
the theory is that the moment you dig into magic, you are also part of the bot network, if that makes sense.
Basically, yeah.
So they also drag from your calculating power to.
Yeah, 100%. You know, upload, download speed. This is Napster for gods. You know, 100%. You know, which is why necromancy, above all things, is heavily frowned upon, even though healing has a lot to do with necromancy.
Eldrin is a necromancer confirmed.
Eldrin's a necromancer, right? You know,
Watch your necks.
and that might, who knows? The unnamed one probably isn't actually that bad of a guy. We just don't talk about
Don't know his
Bruno, right? Oh no. He lives in the walls or something.
Yeah, necromancers are just healers that got there late.
Yeah,
He's not
100%.
wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Can you
Wesley
imagine like Eldrin, what was it was Thriller from Jackson, right? With the whole zombie movie and stuff.
yeah.
Imagine Eldrin being like Michael Jackson and controlling all these zombies. Like, that would be fucking hilarious.
I'd love to see Kyle do that.
Yes.
You should.
10 gifted will make Kyle do it.
So
Eos
my
is a
follow-
Minervite, right? She worships Minerva, right?
Yeah, she
Eos,
does.
And
yeah.
she's the goddess of divination.
She actually
And-
found Minerva through the traumatic situations. Yeah.
She's on evocation. Man, I should know this. I usually have this like on the top of my head. I'm like, yeah, no, she's divination and what? Divination. She has two. She's got two schools, and neither of which are Eos's like cup of tea, right?
No.
Because Eos is evocation, which is
Mostly it's so far. Yeah.
Tempestus, right? Tempestus is evocation. So that's an interesting thing that like Eos's use of magic has very little to do with the faith that she follows.
But she loves the
She's
passage of
just
time
purple.
and the way things flow.
I figured Minerva purple, Eos. I
That
like
helps.
that.
That's my style.
I like her style.
You're wearing Nike, I'm wearing Nike. Here we go.
Yeah. So,
So does Eos actually see more like a role model in Minerva, like the person that she wants to become?
That was a big discussion I had with Ken early on, actually, because of the race she is, Unbraven. Okay. Their goddess, so on and so forth, deity doesn't exist in RNS. Eos loves fishing. She loves watching time go by. She loves the passage of the day and night cycle. Minerva was the only suitable thematic choice for her, and I read about Minerva on the website, all available there. I was like, yeah, Eos can vibe with that.
Nice.
Her spells are reflected though.
As a follow-up question to what we discussed, like, since we have learned from places like Penzance, do you think there's more enclaves like that, or do you think the majority of extraordinary creatures are kind of lone wolves that just wanders the Isles?
because
we only had like we met Penzance and we met the enclave from Wolver and his kin. There's not much in between that we've encountered so far. We arguably Umberdom, but to me it's like a prisoned island that is like, it's basically Australia. A lot of deadly creatures and folk that are just outlawing their shit on that island. Like, but what do you
It's the same island as Sagonatoshi. The same island.
It's like
They both have cherry trees.
No,
Yeah, they both have cherry trees and everything.
There's ocean in between the both of them, you know.
Between Umberdon and Sagonatoshi? No, that's not. There's
A bit of water between friends.
We talking about what was that little island called there?
Gongalore.
North Gongalore, yeah.
Oh,
Yes, Gongalore is its own.
We love Gomglor.
Oh, Rory loves Gongalore
Yeah.
because Eos is she likes the thrill to hang around with dogs.
Hang on, can we just pause here for a second, Ken? When we get to Gomulor, Australian accents, okay? Lock it in, note it down. All right, carry
What
on.
have I done? What have I done?
Yeah. I do think the
Get
Gongalore
Good night, mate.
does contain one of the bastions of the emissaries of Paragon, most likely. I do think that. And I think that some of these enclaves are going to be centered in the vicinity of those, which is probably why they are able to continue to exist, because they exist within the shadow of protection of that place. But as you get closer to like more populated areas like Balparoth or Amadriana's town,
Verdois?
also Boudoir, or to some extent Sagonatoshi, to a full extent Umberdon. These are places where none of all this fuckery is not really embraced. To a lesser extent Sagonatoshi.
So the closer we are to danger, the further we are from harm, kind of logic.
Yeah, that would
Shut up,
also
Mary.
make sense because clearly, Gomgalore is on a major trading sailors route, right? So
Yeah.
everybody knows about that place. There must be something. Why is the CRU not like fucking raiding that place or whatever? So there clearly must be things in place that prevent these things from happening. So Super interesting, though.
There's two different opinions of it. Like Remington said, "Oh hey, Eos, your people are there. You check it out." Bird Lady is like, "You shouldn't go there. It's full of terrorists."
Yeah, exactly. Because
Yeah.
it's in the end of the day, it's kind of like an outlaw island, like
Yeah, like Australia.
yeah.
You should ask crew, see what they have to say about it.
Nah, that Grimstone guy don't like him. Hideous.
Well, gentlemen, we at that point of the night where we're gonna slowly wrap up, and I have a lot of community questions through Discord and such things and chat that I shall ask you guys. And
Yeah,
there's
let's do
also some questions of Hudson, so I kind of try to mix in between. But I would start with a question to all players. That is, what is your character's biggest regret so far? And as a player, what is your biggest regret in the campaign?
Ooh.
Wow.
I don't think I have any regrets as a player as such. There's probably a couple of things we didn't explore in detail, but that's like, I was like, oh, would have been nice, like the giant squid, for example, would have been nice to get to know, but also there were more pressing matters, so I'm okay with it.
I've got one, yeah.
Character-wise, could have probably dragged out the will they, won't they with Slissa for a little bit longer, but yeah,
I personally regret not being prepared for the scene or the situation when we came out of the book in the volcano and DKC was in control and DM asked me, okay, what's DKC going to do here? I really regret not asking the DM prior to that, what can DKC do? Because I flumped that. I struggled for 2 minutes and I just skipped on and went along. Because, going back in time, I would have loved to do some cool spell stuff with DKC, but I wasn't prepared sheet-wise, any idea-wise for it. Eos would definitely regret not spending more time at Riker during the book.
He's potentially that, like... Yeah.
Potentially. Not confirmed.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Kinda.
I mean, I'm sure we could manifest him somehow.
Yeah, but necromancer,
Maybe
it's
he
fine.
lives in the whale's stomach now.
Oh no.
Or in the giant squids or whatever it was.
And he beat and he beat and he beat.
Yeah, same with the volcano for Wes. I mean, I went with my first impulse, but if I had taken just a second to think about really what was available to him at that moment that he was utilizing, I think that there were a few other things he could have done without upsetting his good friend Virathorn. So yeah, I should have taken a second to really think through that, but it was very impulsive that moment. And also choosing to speak in monosyllabic words was a fucking nightmare. And I'm so glad it's
enjoyed it.
I loved it. That was
fun.
great.
That was
Yeah.
fun.
fucking nightmare. I'll go back to it eventually, just for fun. Just for fun. But does Wes regret anything? He regrets going into the woods when he was told not to do so, and yet he did. And now look at what's going on.
Nothing at all.
This is why stealing is wrong, and you should listen to your mom.
But it feels oh so right, Wesley.
I know.
That Snicker bar was right there.
Unlimited chicken!
Yeah, what does he have to show for it? Unlimited chicken. I mean, that seems okay, right? It's probably
Never
fine.
go hungry.
Well, he hasn't actually eaten the chicken. It's just the chicken eats the chicken. We haven't tested whether or not it's actually.
World.
We haven't tested to see if it's actually edible for
Noted.
mortal mouths.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Imagine the group hungry in the woods. Chicken comes along with the chicken, and everybody's just like, "Let's prepare. Let's grab it." Ah!
Yeah, the hand just goes through it.
It's the illusion. God, that's fuckery.
What about Hatsu and Biz?
For Hatsu, there is not really a regret in like that would sit deep, but the moment with his brother Drakkar and how his father gave away his life, he also thinks he might have missed opportunities in the past to learn more about their personalities of his parents. Let's phrase it that way. Because he got taught a lot, they talked a lot, but the topic was always like the family, the techniques, the schools of the different schools of martial arts they preserved and invented, and that Hatsu has to follow along and evolve and stuff like that. Because like his parents and his grandfather, everyone had a different approach to things, and they all kind of tried to embed it in Hatsu so he would prolong that journey. But clearly, as they split it up in different schools of martial arts, because that was their bread and butter and that was their kind of style to embrace it, he also feels like he kind of wants to preserve all of that, but he tries to find his own way within. And sometimes he thinks like if he would have known more personal things about his parents, like what drives them, what is their biggest regrets and stuff, what was their hiccups that they learned from and stuff. I think Hatsu thinks that might help him a lot more now that he also has evolved into a person that tries to more understand the whole social structures and certain aspects of life that he never had witnessed before. But since he met the group, he kind of feels more like he was missing out on stuff. And as a player, biggest regret in the campaign, one would be there were certain points in the game where me as a player, I was more curious about stuff, but as Kian said, there was always like the urgency to do this, do that, act fast and stuff. I wish I would have had more curiosity and patience in regard of not let all that what's happening surround the characters would hesitate me to, or like push me to move on faster. I wish so. In some scenarios, like retrospectively, I would say my regret would be not taking more time to fully explore what I'm curious about. The next question that I have on my list is also for Hatsu, but I think I've also talked about it. The question was, Hatsu seems to handle the death of his father very stoically. Is this something instilled in him by his clan and role as its leader, suppressing what might be seen as a weakness? Or is it more reflection of his culture, honoring ancestors and processing grief differently? I think I briefly touched on that. Like it's more about like his acceptance, and as a fact, he is not the new leader of the Toshitsugu clan. That is his mother, 100%. He tries to play more the role of the entity that gives the will of the leader to the people. If that makes sense. He's more the anchor point between the leader of the clan, because the leader of the clan also has different duties than just only being in touch with the community, but also other things they have to discuss and think about. So Hatsu sees his role more as the bridge between the people and the family, if that makes sense. And the follow-up on that was Hatsu. What were your direct and indirect inspirations for Hatsu, pop culture, historic, etc., etc.? There is an in-depth video about that. I think that question came from Shaq. There's an in-depth video on meta gaming, was it? No, what was the format? No, it was meta.
Yeah, I think it was metagaming. Yeah.
It was metagaming.
Yeah.
Where I described where Hatsu
YouTubes.
came from. So basically, Hatsu is a fusion of two people that had a lot of influence in my life since I grew up. It has to do with martial arts and all stuff like that related to Japan. So that's where a lot of that comes from. Hatsu is an honor of what Busy has learned from Hatsumi Masagi, basically, and that is like a combination of Hatsumi Masaki and his teacher, and a lot of Japanese lore and stuff that Busy as a human has accumulated over 20 years following certain martial arts and stuff. So there's a lot of personality from me and these characters from real life that are fused into Hatsu. If that answers your question, Mr. Shaq. And we have a question for Weslin. What percentage of what's really going on around him do you think Weslin actually understands at any given time?
20%.
20%.
Yeah,
Why is that?
20%. Why?
Why is that? Yeah.
Because just when he thinks he's got like a grasp on it, whether it applies to the laws and stories that he has been brought up on, the hidden meanings and songs of his people, once he kind of ties it all together, he's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then other fuckery happens that makes absolutely no sense, because magic. And you would think that after 800 years floating in the current, that he would have picked up a thing or two, but it's like when your brain is full of like French onion soup, it's just hard sometimes to reform the croutons, in a crunchy way. They're just kind of wet and soggy with with the cheese and the onions, and it's delicious, but does it make any sense?
This is our teaser for a mukbang
croutons?
stream with John.
I'm down. Let's do a mukbang with a pot of French onion soup. We'll talk about magic and the slow degradation of one's mind over time, and psychedelics.
Sold on there.
All at once.
EOS, what were your direct and indirect inspirations for EOS? We can probably guess Purple plays a role, but what else is behind her creation?
Two characters. So Rei Ayanami from Neon Genesis Evangelion, big influence on how EOS approaches everything. That kind of wanderous secret archetype. And secondly, we're going to follow that up with a character that I played in Twisted Wenches. Her name was Riri. And that's kind of took both, put them into one. I played another character called Roshi. She's indirectly in there somewhere deep behind many, many veils of mind. But yeah, Ainami from Evangelion is the biggest influence.
I still have Riri PTSD, just throwing it out there. Great character,
yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah.
So a question to Mr. Dash, looking at everything Dash has done and is willing to do you believe he's worthy of the good in his life? With his ideology of tearing down the system by sometimes mirroring the same behaviors he opposes? Who is the good guy in the end?
Oh, do I believe, or does Dash believe? Because there's two different
It's a
answers
question
there.
to
You know?
Dash. Yeah, it's a question to
So,
Dash.
No, Dash doesn't believe he's deserving of a good life at all. No, he's that as I suppose when we had that monologue back. What episode was that? Like 40 or something like that. When we had that monologue, it was very much expressing his willingness to be the bad guy. To be the necessary evil, I suppose, because he was at a point there, and he still, to a degree, has that in his psyche, that to initiate the change that needs to be initiated in this particular world, the very moral can't do what needs to be done. That those who are truly good, they can't bring themselves to do the dirty work that needs to be done to bring about that change. So he has kind of taken upon himself that if bad things need to be done to affect positive change, he will do that, and he will take the consequences as need be with it. Now, very conflicted at the moment for obvious reasons about, what the consequences mean beyond his own personal self. So at the moment conflicted there, but as it stands at this moment, no, he's like, yep, I'm fucked. I'm going to hell, and I'm okay with it.
As a follow-up from me, because I find it quite intriguing. Like, so you talked about a lot about Dash, like the idealistic young guy that tries to figure out how to deal with this kind of stuff. Do you also think it's part of a natural growing process? Like, especially when you're young, your job is to be idealistic, to question all the things that are in place and stuff. Do you also think he is like, most of the time I feel like when you're in your early 20s, you kind of think you know what is good and what's bad, what is right and what's wrong. And then you get a little older and you realize, okay, there's more to this world. It's not that easy to define. Do you think Dash is in that kind of process at the moment? Since
Very much.
He has become a father actually and stuff like that.
No, that's exactly where he is, Biz. You've like nail on the head. He's gone from the man who's like, no, I know it all. You know, I think we all know we probably were that in our younger days, where you're just like, I know everything there is to know about this. That's fine. Then you mature a bit and you realize how much you didn't know. He is very much in that at the moment. That's the arc we're taking him on right now, where he is in the process of maturing, and he kind of has to do it. He has to hurry it up a bit.
All right, and another question for Hatsu is, your portrayal feels very grounded in Far Eastern culture. Does that come from specific inspirations, so you spend time researching to shape that authenticity? I think I kind of answered that already, but like I've been following martial arts for like most of my life actually, and 15 years-ish was dedicated to a martial arts called Bujinkan Ninjutsu, and the founder of that is Hatsumi Masaki, and his teacher's name was Takamatsu Toshitsugu. So he got this school combines 5 samurai schools and 4 ninjutsu schools, which combines the traditional like the samurai schools is more like the samurais were nobles. That was basically like the primary guard for the shoguns, right? And the ninja classes is more like what evolved from the will to protect the villagers in rural Japan that got raided by these samurai clans and stuff and got robbed of their goods. So the school inherits 2 traditions that seem absolutely contrary to each other, but it's also the idea of trying to find balance between both of them, and also try to go into the perspective of where all these traditions come from. And another big influence on Hatsu was definitely things like the Book of 5 Rings, which has a very deep martial arts embedded history in Japan, and all that comes around with it. So if you following a martial arts for that many years, like over half of my life as a kid, like when I was 6, I started to do judo. So for 5 years, I was very, the seed of Japanese culture was like in a very young age, I got in contact with that. So it is pretty much a lot of stuff that I grew up with. So that's also something that I want to inherit in Hatsu. So it feels more organic than something that I might have come up with. So there is a shit ton of influence. There's a lot of stuff that are just named like it is. Because that is also part of his identity. Also part of my identity to a certain degree.
That's really cool.
And we have a question for Eos out of character. So it's for Rory.
Mm-hmm.
Putting yourself outside of Eos as a player, knowing everything she's been through, her age and what she's capable of, would you trust her with the level of power? Not in terms of taking it away, but whether it's safe for her and those around her, given how volatile things can get.
Wow. Crikey. See, the fact I know her so well. If I didn't know her in depth, or even if I was not a character of the party, and you saw what she's capable of so far, she's only maybe used like a third of her spell list, I wouldn't trust her.
That is a
question. That's a
very
class question.
very foreseen.
That's one hell of a question. Who asked that?
Was that Shaq?
Jack,
I have a question for
Shout out
Kian.
Shaq.
What is your next idea or want to play in this amazing world? I think that question implies that they think that Dash is going to die at some point.
I mean, look, the
By
way it's
Eos's
going,
hand, yeah.
It's, whoa, hold up. It's entirely possible. I've had a couple ideas. I've discussed them. My favorite one. He's such a meme character. Is the customer service warlock. I don't think I'll play it. So I had this idea of like he's a really old man that just kind of accidentally signed up to a pact because he was lonely, and all the patron needs is just like these gems that are like literally in his village, and he's trying to basically direct the old man to the gems to get, but the old man keeps getting sidetracked and he keeps getting further and further and further away from the gems, and the patrons just losing their mind, going, "No, it's right there. Please just turn around." It's like, "Oh no, but Mary down here needs help with her chickens," and off he goes, and then he suddenly ends up with an adventuring party on the other side of the world, and the patrons just losing their damn mind because it was just such a simple little contract to go pick up the gems, and he's just gone miles away. So I think that would be a fantastic, fun character to do, but I have a couple others as backups. A paladin there, a dwarf barbarian woman, which I think would be class. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not exactly finished with Dash yet, so I really want to explore Palperoth. That's the next thing I want to do. I really want to get into Palperoth and explore that.
Mr. John, do you feel like Westland will just become one with nature / godlike an entity, throwing it much like Elder Scrolls 3, Morrowind with Vivek reaching godhood?
that's if he's not already a god. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. He may be like, what's that anime where like they melt into trees, in that like post-apocalyptic future? Like he might just melt into a tree and get dissolved or disappear in a puff of dandelion fluff. He might get eaten by Dash, who knows? Like I'm not really sure
Eaten
what's
by
going to happen
Dash?
with him.
What do you think Dash is?
A monster.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like the nature of what Wesleyan is still, or who even Wesleyan is still not fully solid to him, and Every time he thinks he's got that locked down, something else comes up. Even this whole like Wesleyan thing may not even be real. That may also be a fabrication that his mind has made up to make himself make sense in this time and place. That is
Maybe that's the
quite-
key. Maybe
quite
Westland
possible.
makes everything up and it just becomes into reality.
that would be a problem. That would be we're talking race threat thing here, you know. That's a problem.
Race threat.
Yeah. The more we play, the more I'm like, I think that's probably what's about to happen. Before he blows up and like the multiverse like unravels. Put him back to sleep quickly.
Maybe he's the seed of new life in any of the new multiverses. Who knows?
Maybe he's your mom, you know, like you never know.
Maybe he's his mom's plant. Who knows?
His mother's house plant been awakened, you know.
Westland, the father of all sakura trees.
It's actually, he doesn't have feet, it's just an illusion, you know. Like he's actually in a little
do you
pot.
know, from Harry Potter when they are in the biology class and they have this plant,
Oh,
the
Mandrake.
screaming plants.
Yeah.
I imagine Wesley like this when he was younger, like all rounds or something. How they called? Like
Mandrakes, they're called.
Man.
Mandrake.
Or is he like
Yeah.
Vash, you know, the plant creature assassin guy? You know?
Oddish.
Who knows? Maybe he's Groot. Who
Maybe
knows?
he's Groot, you know, the universal Groot. I mean, at some point, maybe at the very end of the campaign, we'll finally have an answer. But I don't think the fuckery will be stopping anytime soon.
I'm still planning to play D&D in my retirement, so we kind of have some way to go, right?
Forward to that when, you know, who was it? Adam or something said in the group chat, oh, when we're on the retirement home, like we're all riddled with dementia, so we just keep playing the one dungeon over and over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
Yeah. and we can have like electric scooters and like vests with like Flying Orc emblem on the back.
Oh, hell
like
yeah.
a biker gang. That would be fucking great as fuck.
Yes.
Question for Rory.
Oh.
As it stands, when Eos actually properly matures, where do you see her? What is your aspiration for her? What does she want in life?
Wow, that's a really lovely question. Long term, as it has been so far with the dossier that's in the undercraft of the bookshop, she sees herself running it, and all going well, the plan, hopefully, the way things work out. It'll be a little place by a lake that people of her kind or other Aelvar can come, hang out, drop to the skies, read a book, little outpost. You can stay for a couple of days and move on.
There's a follow-up question that also plays into that. Like, is the Eos other name by choice? Up to you if you want to share it. Just want to know what it means.
So, language lesson time, chat. Ekdikasi is a Greek word. It has three meanings, which are revenge, vengeance, or retaliation. Her last name, Tintrock, is Irish for lightning, so her name is Vengeance Lightning. Eos is a nickname given to her by her mom and her mom's friend named Jess, and that is the Greek word for dawn. Her nickname is Dawn. Her real name is Vengeance Lightning. The power of a name.
Sounds like a fantastic band.
So her name that we all know as Eos, that's not her actual real name.
That's like a nickname, right?
Yeah, it's just a nickname.
Yeah. Question for Hatsu. What kind of leader for a resurrected Saigon Otoshi? What do you think Hatsu would be? As I pointed out, like, Hatsu is in no way, shape, or form on the power level or the wisdom to become a leader. That would be his mother's job. As a matter of fact, she was kind of the leader the whole time. She just doesn't like all the public responsibilities that follows up with that. So his father was forced to do that. It wasn't on his own behalf. So his father became the leader because of that. And to be fair, without spoiling too much, his mother is way more powerful than his father. That is for sure. So he will not become the leader. But as I pointed out earlier, he will become like more the bridge between the people and the family. And he sees himself more in that responsibility to kind of translate the wisdom into actions, kind of. I just have to go back to the other sheet because we have Cyril. We're gonna end up with general questions to the players. As people who clearly enjoy creating characters and backstories, how do you approach that process?
First, music. What's the vibe for the character? And sit down. Then, what does the character seem like to me? Like, do I want to be friends with them? Are they a legend I want to read about? Are they a local hero kind of a thing? Follow that up with then, okay, so what are they interested in? And those are the building blocks that I personally would use for building a character. And once you have all those in place, then you can start formulating a backstory. And the backstory will then tell you, the player, okay, this is their vibe, this is what they're like. Cool. Now, what do they look like? And after that, then I give them a name. Once I have all that beautiful information. But it always starts with music.
Interesting.
For me.
I start with the name, funny enough. So for me, the name informs the character. So like when I was going through the application for this, I had a few different names there, just kind of random ones that were, occurred to me. Like I was very much trying to draw inspiration from like Irish history and things like that. And the one that stuck out to me literally was the meme name that I came up with. Like, okay, I wanted to be a rogue. I knew that much. Then I just wrote down Dash, because funny because he can run fast. I was like, oh, he hides, so he's a hiding man. And then actually, I just kind of made it a little bit, Germanified it a bit, and I was like, I actually really like that name. And for some reason, it just stuck with me. So I'm like, okay, Dash Hideman. And then I built a story around that, and I wanted him to kind of be very. Sorry, Ken. I very much wanted him to be kind of a fuck up, but didn't realize he's a fuck up. I think I've hit the nail on the head there a bit with the way I've constructed him. So I always like my characters to learn and to have a lot of mistakes early game. I really want them to feel the consequences of their actions throughout the game. The same with my first D&D character as well. He had consequences all over his face, and he was scarred. He now has a dick beard. That's a whole different thing. So I was kind of positioning them in a way of like, okay, in this kind of world, what way do I build him that will lead to him encountering things he hasn't a fucking clue about? And I was like, okay, human, actually, just go human, no magical powers, because I kind of knew the way the others in the party were going to build, that we were going to get exposed to a lot of magical shit. So I was like, right, that's immediately going to bring him so out of his depth from what he did. He's going to still be, like I said before, he thinks he knows it all, but he hasn't a fucking clue. And then I can kind of take him through the learning process, and the game itself almost becomes his true backstory in a way.
Mr. John.
I start with the class. What do I want to play? What have I not played in a while? And then, you've got your list of like 10, 15 tropes that are associated with the class. What species do I want to mess with? There's a couple of tropes with that as well. and then what are the rules of the world? You know, where are the places of the world? What do we know about this place? And then that kind of then sets a kind of a bit of a murky pool of things to play with. But from that comes like tangential writing, not really direct writing about the character itself, but culture things or history things or a recipe for something that they really like. And that will then begin to inform the character. And of course, I like to leave some bits to buckery from the DM, so I usually will leave some open-ended bits that they can insert as we go to catch myself by surprise, to be caught by surprise, not to catch myself by surprise, but to be caught by surprise. Leaving things open-ended is quite important to building a character, because it allows for some adjustments as you go. It doesn't keep it too rigid. That's my typical process.
I like to draw from things, culture, people, ideas that inspire me or that had an impact on me personally. So what I like to do is kind of what Dash is trying to do in his approach to kind of make people believe in what he's saying. I try to get some essence of my reality into a shape or form that also has sprinkled in idealistic ideas or visions that seem too unrealistic from a perspective in this world, and try to create an idea of a person that would embody all these visions and ideas. And what I also love to do is I like to create characters that help people to get a better idea of different perspectives on life. So that's how I approach it, and then I condense it down to a character that is also inspired most of the time by historical figures. Or my first character, for example, was a complete rip-off of something, but was made into something very new. So the whole archetype idea was inspired by something that has already been. His name was Avalon, and Avalon was the hometown of Merlin. So he kind of embodied the name of that heritage, and then the DM was creating something around that. And I also like that to have to give the DM some food. So for example, for Hatsu, I came up with Hatsu himself from the things that I described earlier. But then I also did create an own family tree for him, so the DM would know what is his heritage, where does he come from, what is other people about. So I did write a background story not only for Hatsu, but also for most of his family. But I leave some things out for DM to fill in, as well as John did. And and then I start to figure out, then I start to ask myself, okay, I've now fleshed out this character, what that character should stand for, what he's about, where his belief system comes from and everything. And then I look into the characters and I go like, okay, which archetype would that suit? And sometimes it changes. First I thought, okay, Hatsu would be a rogue, but then no, but his approach is more like a spiritual. So I ended up creating him as a monk, because I thought the emphasis on like the meditation part of things and the balance between body and soul is more fits more to him, and then everything comes together more and more and more. That's how I approach it, basically. And the follow-up question would be, do you draw from parts of yourself when building a character, or do you treat them as entirely separate? Mr. Rory, shall we start with you?
Sure. I didn't build Eos intentionally with that in mind, that somehow she would somewhat be reflective of myself. I think that happened for me naturally throughout the process. wasn't planned. Eos being a sorcerer, that was planned halfway when making her backstory. Just touching on you guys mentioning classes and things. I never played a sorcerer before. I wanted a magic user who could have a sword. That's why sorcerer became the choice. And freaking love it. 10 out of 10. Great class. But the fact that she somehow reflects quite a bit of me, yeah, that happened naturally. That was purely accidental, and I really love it. Really love it. I think it's hard to build a character without putting a bit of yourself into it. You know, you can't build a PC without cutting your finger. There's always blood sacrifice.
Not sure about that. Just remembered a very bad accident when I was building a PC. Ah, shit. Mr. John.
What? I mean, there's a reason why TTRPGs are used in, you know, psychology studies, or, you know, a way to get people to reveal aspects of themselves. Some people put more of themselves than not in their characters, but you know, we all play through lived experience. So a lot of what we know about the world, or how we interact with the world, finds a sense of translation through a character, whether a concentration of what we know or an exploration of the things that we don't know. Our impulses when we play these games are a mixture of the subconscious and the conscious. As we make decisions, they are informed by our lived experiences, our ethos, or our fears and desires. Right? It's an interesting. It's an interesting exercise playing game, building characters, because it is a form of interpersonal storytelling that has been around for as long as a species has had words. Right? It's a very important thing for us not to lose, because I think we'd lose a bit of our humanity to some degree if we couldn't tell stories in such a way, whether it's in written form or through, you know, theater like this is. Yeah, that's my answer. I'm sticking with it.
Mr. Kian.
Yeah, I think similar to Rory, I guess it was unintentional, a lot in how much of myself I put into Dash. I didn't realize until I was kind of reading it back afterwards, but there is a lot of myself from that kind of age time as well, where I was, you know, at that age was trying to kind of start a business and going to these events and trying to charm the room, that kind of thing. And I didn't really have the natural ability to do it, so I kind of put that into Dash, that he has that thing that I couldn't have, that ability to kind of be charm and suave and all that kind of stuff. So there was a lot of me in there, or maybe the me that I had envisaged for myself at that time, particularly in terms of backstory. How it's playing out now is a lot more the me and my kind of gameplay style, I guess, because any game I play, I'm a bit of a chaos gremlin. That just kind of comes out naturally. So, sorry guys. But yeah, there's a lot more me in there than what I'd actually expect to see, and that kind of makes it a lot easier to role play him and actually feel what he's feeling as well. I think myself and Rory have had this conversation above the table as well, where we're kind of like, when Dash and us are having that back and forth, and then afterwards, I messaged Rory like, "We good?" We're all like, "Yeah, we're good."
All love, always.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's fun. It's nice to be able to, that you can just kind of slip into the character naturally, I suppose. The accent is hard to keep up when I'm talking to you guys, though, so that's why that's exclusively now for when we're dealing with NPCs, because I just couldn't keep it up.
Yeah, I kind of combine all of these. To me, like the how can I phrase that? depending on what your thinking and interests are, you are sometimes in a very niche group, and psychologically, the difficulty most of the time is that the majority always wants you to explain the whys and how you come there, and why do you think this, or why do you believe this, and da da da. And I think building a character that is not, that can live out that facet of your own personality but doesn't have to explain itself, because it's in a world where these questions are asked differently or played out differently. You can, at least for myself, I always try to create ways that me as a player, but also my character, could explore different viewpoints and opinion on certain things, with the idea of getting a deeper knowledge how everything is basically able to fuse together, that to kind of put more emphasis on that men are created in a way that we should work in a symbiosis with each other, rather than creating an image of the ultimate person that does it all. Like we not Swiss Army knives. We are complementary goods that try to improve each other while fusing capabilities and ideas, and also question these ideas from time to time with different perspectives. Because a lot of the time in decision making, you always think from the position of where you at, but we always have a hard time to understand why people might see it different, because we have a hard time to understand in which situations other people are. And I think tabletop RPGs, and especially creating a character, writing a character that suits facets of yourself, is a way to kind of live that out a little bit more freely without answer too many questions, if that makes sense. So that's why I think, at least for me, I can say I could never write a character that is totally detached from myself, because I also don't like if somebody asks my character something, I have the answer, because that answer is already inside me, and that feels way more natural to me than if I would write a character that is so out of touch with myself that I would have to think hard what would be the answer for that character, you know? Because when it's nothing that is naturally in me, I have a hard time to play that character to some degree. I think that's also why some actors don't accept certain roles, because if you can't find anything that you could attach to yourself to kind of play it out and evolve on that, it just wouldn't look natural. And as a follow-up for that, for everyone, and when deciding what to commit to, do you go all in on backstory from the start, or prefer to let the adventure shape who they become?
I love backstory. I really do. It's one of the greatest opportunities you have to shape your character, like building the foundation of a house or choosing the wheels and tires for a car in a way. It's not a way of justifying what they're going to do always in the future. Absolutely not. But it is a way to go, okay, they are this way because this happened here. It's written. It's in the 10 Commandments. Off you go read it. That kind of thing. But it's a great way to show the promise of a future for your character, because if you don't have... Now again, you don't need the world's longest backstory. You don't need an entire book for it. You could have a couple of pages and that's grand, absolutely. But being able to relate to it in your mind when you're RPing and using that as a backup if something else happens, that's great. Like Eos's backstory, I think, is 6 to 8 pages, give or take, something like that. Font size 12. Helvetica, of course. But yeah, I love backstory. Again, it's not always going to come up for your character. Very rarely, maybe in the lovely campfire chats you have between missions that we used to do when we were out in the snow. Those were fantastic. I love those. They were absolutely wonderful. But yeah, I personally love a good backstory. It's great to build your character with. It's great to shape them. It's great for me, the player, to read and go, okay, that's how they're going to react because that's what they did before.
Kind of just ditto, to be quite honest. Very, very much the same. Love the backstory, but I always leave room for the campaign to shape what the character is going to ultimately become. I always like to imagine, like, okay, what's the character going to be like if I'm going to play the character in the next campaign. You know, I want this to become their backstory. So you have like almost like 3 stages. I always like to imagine what's the epilogue kind of going to be like. So I have full backstory I love writing and leaving a lot of room for them to completely tear up the original backstory with whatever fuckery happens.
I like to keep backstory to a page, just the important bits. 2 pages if I'm being ambitious. Everything from there is going to be a diagonal line of mood board stuff because I'm visually oriented. So I'll have a collection of images and sounds or words, you know, things that I can look at that will give me, or that will inform me what needs to be informed in future scenarios, or as we play and we explore certain things, I'm going to add to it. I think the mailbox that Ken provided for sending mail out has never included any mail sent from Wesleyan. It's all images and random little bits of culture as it develops. Poor guy gets bombarded with mind vomit.
Yeah,
It's important. Like, it's important.
For me, it's pretty much the same, but I like to flesh out the backstory more in terms of I want to have a clear idea what is the character's ideals, where do the ideals come from, what did lead him to the path that he's on, and how much emphasis does he put on certain things. Because I think for me as a player, that helps me a lot to understand how my character thinks. And when I read through, and also his family heritage, that is such a big role in Hatsu's character and understanding of duty and family and all that stuff. I feel like if I wouldn't have fleshed out his whole family tree and what they stand for and the origins and stuff, he would have a hard time to really play that out. And I would have a hard time acting as Hatsu because I also want to put emphasis on this. So if I don't know what I'm talking about, I feel like it's more unnatural. So I really put much effort into answer the questions that might come up, like why he is the way he is and why he thinks the way he thinks. And that is also to a point where we start the campaign. So after that, it's open, like character development wise. He needs space to evolve, and I also want everybody that is part of the campaign be part of his evolvement, if that makes sense. But character wise, since the way he was built, I decided to flesh out where Hatsu is gonna go with his skill set from the very beginning to level 20, basically. I had other characters where I didn't approach it that way, where I adjusted the things that they were able to do, like while learning D&D, basically, because I had no idea what the character could be able to do and stuff like that. And so for I leave a little wiggle room For stuff that I try to bring in as flourish, that would make sense to the backstory or how the character evolved. But I always have to create like a basic structure where I see that character. So I don't build in a way that wouldn't feel natural to the things that I have fleshed out for the character, if that makes sense. And that also leads to the last question of tonight, which is to all players, what got you into D&D in the first place, and what does it represent for you now? We shall start with Mr. Kean on this one.
What got me into D&D was, well, I've always been a gamer, so it's always been kind of, everything's D&D adjacent, basically. Loved RPGs, loved Lord of the Rings, so it kind of all tied into D&D. So I always knew it was there, but never had a chance to actually play it. And then it was over lockdown, wasn't it, Rory? I think we played, myself and Rory worked together for a while and a few other boys.
Yeah.
So when COVID hit and we had nothing to do, we were like, fuck, okay, let's give this a go, because we hadn't had a chance to meet up or socialize. So we're like, let's do this. So we had basically a PDF drawing of a dungeon, and I was DMing, and I was just literally drawing our characters and notion of the rules. But I said, fuck it, we'll try it.
I still remember it in my mind.
Yeah, and Ken came along as well. Ken, who actually had experience, he had a campaign running at the time. We just happened to mention it in the work chat, and he's like, "Oh, I'll tag along and help out a bit." So, yeah, okay, cool. His character immediately got squished by a cart, I think, didn't it? Oh no, that was actually when we started Twisters and Wenches. His character got squished by a cart, and we were like, "Yeah, poor." That was Boblin, wasn't it? Was that Boblin? Yeah. That was his.
His name was Bob. His head is still in a tavern somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was it, and it just we did that, and then Ken was like, "Oh, I'll do you like a learning campaign thing." So we made our characters, and when you're kind of doing the character creation, oh, this is kind of fun, and you're starting to do the backstory and everything we just discussed, and then suddenly it's like all you're thinking about for like, okay, when's the next session? Right, next Wednesday rolls around, you're like, yay, and it just becomes the highlight of your week. Particularly those times like during COVID, it was phenomenal, and yeah, it was. It kind of. I kept playing it even through the birth of my first child and all that. Kept playing it, and it was just kind of this anchor point that I had through. What was it, a chaotic time from COVID, and I moved across the country, and I one very long-term relationship ended. I moved into another one, and the D&D was the only constant that I had for a period of about 3 years there, I think it was. So it just became this one thing that I knew I could count on to be consistent every week, to just have complete disconnect from everything that was going on in the world, have totally different noise that I could focus on for a couple of hours, and it just kind of stuck with me then.
Sorori.
Yeah, so college was my first introduction to D&D. A bunch of one-shots we would do after class, literally in the room. I studied animation, so we'd move all the freaking drawing desks off the table onto the floor, draw out a big battle map. We do a one-shot there and then. And then I did Curse of Strahd with a bunch of people from college. That was fun as hell. I played a fighter, Dragonborn. His name was Fight, F-I-T-E. That was his whole name, nothing else. That was great. And then work, Cian, Slack chat. What you doing today? Let's go and play Ark. He was like, no, I'm playing D&D. Okay, great, cool. Oh, hey, this is Ken. Okay, great. Yeah. That's where that started. And yeah, honestly, D&D, as you can probably tell by this tattoo of the Raven Queen, is a big part of my life, and I love it to bits. I look forward to every freaking session we do, the Wednesdays and the every second Tuesdays we do in the offline campaign. It's a joy, and right now, being where I am in my life, I'm delighted to have it and to have you, my wonderful friends here, blasting along through random adventures. And yeah, it's good soul. It's good soup. It's wonderful. if you've never played D&D and you're curious about it, stay in the Discord, we'll hook you up with something. Like, it's great. And what it does for you creatively and everything, you see games in different perspectives. I personally never knew Mass Effect, Dragon Age, they were all built on the freaking system of D&D. I never understood it until we started this whole crazy journey. You see it everywhere. It's freaking amazing. It's wonderful. Yeah.
Hell yeah, Mr. John.
So I grew up in a very conservative part of the world that still clung to the last dying gasps of the Satanic Panic. And there was an elder in the church who introduced me to games and creative writing, and my very first kind of exposure to the fantasy genre and TTRPGs in like the really basic form. Like we're talking second edition AD&D, and we fast forward a little bit into the mid 90s. Found a group. We played in a basement. His parents kind of tolerated us, you know, although they were worried about our immortal souls. I got in trouble on occasion for playing Satan's game and summoning the devil. And
well, that was your fault for summoning the devil IRL. You know you're supposed to keep it in the game.
I do what I can to keep the devil, you know, where he belongs, in my heart. Yeah, like, you know, so like my introduction to D&D comes from, you know, a member of the church who, in his previous life, was heavily involved in following secret societies and exploring various different aspects of the occult, you know, and then he became saved and somehow needed to impart his wisdom as to these are the things you shouldn't do, but let's also play this Satan game. Super fun. I really should get back in touch with him just to be like, hey, look, I play this now on TV. Look, check it out. How different the world has you know, evolved, and how wonderful it is to see this thing that used to be a shameful, hidden aspect of the corner of my world, you know, to now being, you know, a multi-million-dollar industry and well known and, you know, accepted, if not respected, by celebrities and, you know, us low lives like ourselves. You know, it's a beautiful thing, and I am so very happy to see the community flourish, and very hopeful that it will continue to grow and develop into something transcendental.
Very interesting. I had a similar approach to D&D as Rory and Kian, because I met Ken, our lovely DM, through a game called Escape from Tarkov, and we made friends along the way, and at some point also Ryan and several other people came together, and then COVID hit, and we kind of thought, okay, let's do something like a regular meeting to do something, to play games or whatever. And then Ken asked me like, I'm planning to make my first own D&D campaign. Would you up for it? I think you would be a great addition to have at the table and stuff. And I was like, I've never heard about D&D. Like, what is this? And then I'm the type of person, I love games that have a lot of depth, because I like reading a lot about something and then combining stuff, and everything that is very lore rich and mechanically rich to play with. I fucking love that. to very, very dig deep into it. And so he mentioned it, and the very evening I started to read about D&D and characters and this, and like after a few hours I just wrote him, yeah, I'm in. And I immediately started to write the background and the character, like as a whole, to a degree that I did send him in the stuff, and he actually created a large part of the world around what I have written about my character and his background. And that was so fascinating to me. It was like, okay, it's like writing a book or writing a TV show, but everybody that is participating writes a certain part of that, and you know some of it, but not all of it. You have to learn it. So you're acting in the series by yourself, but you also learn as a player about the stuff that the others do. And to me, the idea of creating this world together and make it evolve together was like, it was mind-blowing to me, because I've never witnessed anything that had that amount of capacity. Like, I also played some theater as a kid and did some improv theater, and I also did I did one theater show when I was in high school where I basically played 10 roles by myself, and I had all dialogues by myself, and I played every role. I was just the only actor on the stage. That was fucking funny as fuck. But all these things are still, the framework is more defined, and I felt like D&D has an endless potential where the story could evolve to, and you could have a big influence with your character and how you play your character on certain outcomes. And that was very, very exciting to me also to learn. My first character was a wizard, and man, I had a fucking hard time, man. I was so confused. I was confused about the ruling, the wording of certain spells, and there was so much shit that threw me off. And I was like, holy shit, there is so much depth to it. Even there's rules written, there's rules as intended. There's, this works with this, but this doesn't work with that, because then you lose your line of sight, and this spell only works when you have line of sight, and and that was just super exciting to me. So it really became, as Kian said, that weekly constant thing that I could work on that wasn't related to something IRL, where a lot of the times I feel like from the perspective of what I'm doing as a job, there's sometimes moments where you think okay, the world could be such a good place, but there's so many things that prevent that from happening, and you try to do your part to make it change, but over the years you feel okay, there's a lack of willing people that also want that change. So you always back in these scenarios where you think all horrible things happen. They shouldn't happen, but somehow people let it happen. And sometimes I feel like you also feel like you're losing the feeling of the good inside humanity as a whole. And to have these spots of escaping that kind of feeling of losing faith in humanity in itself, to recharge what your soul is made for, what you stand for as a person, is super important. To find these moments of flow where you can let loose of all the and just thrive in the moment of what you've created with people that are like-minded, that feel where you're coming from and stuff, is a very important thing, and has become a very important thing for me since then. And I really love it. I love to come back with people, and I think these kind of games are a very, very great opportunity to bring people together and shape a world where everything is possible. Do you have anything as an addition to that, as closing words that you want to share with the community?
Yeah, based on that alone, that's Because you said it perfectly. Like, truth be told, the boys right here are some of my closest friends.
Oh, sorry. I think my audio crashed. 1 sec.
Keep going, Rory. Keep going.
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, cool.
All right, I'm back. We didn't have any technical difficulty time. Holy shit.
Let me rewind myself. Hang on. The table of D&D does a lot more than what it just looks like. The boys here are generally some of my closest and truest friends in life. This is a known fact. Biz and I have played Ark for thousands of hours together, trying to breed freaking raptors and God knows what else monstrosities we could find. Kian, I've bought gifts for his kids. They're wonderful, amazing, beautiful. John's dog, Mr. Finnegan, is the roundest, most cuddly dog I've ever seen in life, and I've never visited his distillery until he was like, "Hey, do you want to hang out?"
Mr. Finn.
And myself, my partner, showed up, and we had a wonderful, great day. The D&D table does way more than it looks like. You will find yourself in the craziest positions and make the greatest memories you will ever know, and it's all inside your freaking head. But it all goes straight to the heart, and that's the soul of it.
Speaking about crazy, Kyle was inside John.
Hide me. Yeah.
I mean,
it's the only time that you can really like flirt with your
something
people.
Weird that I
You flirt with the boys.
Oh no.
You don't need context. It's fine.
Yeah, TTRPGs are the best way to flirt with your people. I think that's super important to always carry close to your heart. You know, it's a good way to get to know people. It's a good way to carry on ancient traditions, and I think it's something that everyone should dip their toes into. Should, not just Dungeons and Dragons, but there's so many great systems out there. Like don't limit yourself to just one system. And if you can't play a news and get inside your people, like, are they really your people? I think not.
Yeah, Pathfinder 2e is out there as well.
Mathfinder.
Oh yeah. We call it the clap of Frankfurt is like this.
There's a clap as hard as a gelatinous cube. Oh my god.
Kian. Any closing words?
I have nothing to add aside from I love you all and I love this game. And thank you, chat, for allowing us to share our stories with you. We appreciate it very much.
Well said. The only thing I would just add to is, like, in a general world where a lot is centered around consumerism. I feel like IELTS like D&D and others are really a spot to focus back on creating something together. And I think we as people, we thrive together when we have the opportunity to work on stuff together. No matter if it's like creative things like music or arts or whatever, or games like D&D that brings a lot of that stuff together. Like the amount of stuff that Rory did with animation and creating art for the characters, and we made music and introduction videos together. We worked on that world and everything that surrounds it and how we want to present these characters and stuff. And I feel like these are opportunities to really engage with people in a way that create memories, that really create a bond that is strong. Like, I feel like when I visit Ireland for the first time, it was a short visit, but I never feel that anybody was strange to me, like a stranger, I felt like I know these people since forever. Like, it was just so natural to me, everything. And that was just possible because we have created these memories together, where we work together on something creatively, and everybody has had the opportunity to bring something of themselves into this, and that made it very special. I'm very thankful for that. I'm very thankful for our community and the times we share together and the laughs we have in the Discord. Just for all the people that don't know what I'm talking about and you have some FOMO, you should totally join our Discord server. Then there's some hilarious things going on, even in the voice chats during the week while people are at work and stuff. We have a great laugh at so many points, and it's a great opportunity to get in contact with people and to find ways to express yourself creatively and shape moments that would stay in your heart forever. And with that said, we're gonna rate the Elite Encounters. They playing Pathfinder 2e. I think the campaign is called Soul Severed, episode 118, Truth from Trial. And we hope you had a great time. If you enjoyed this session and you want to see more of our campaign, there's a new episode coming out tomorrow, live here on Twitch at the usual time. I think it's 19 Irish time.
Yeah, session 90.
Time. Yeah.
90? Oh my god.
90.
Feel free to join the Discord, which is a very awesome place. Check out the merch store and the occasional extra plays here and there. I think the last one that we had on was Kian with some Red Dead Redemption 2, but we also had Rory playing Crimson Desert, and there's all sorts of stuff coming on. There's also community games going on, which John is organizing regularly, where you have the opportunity to join in some offline games with us on certain topics, some strategic games, sometimes other games. We also have an Enshrouded server if you're interested in that. There's more in the Discord as well. And without further to do or to say, Mr. Community Manager, got something to add?
If you're interested in Blood in the Clock Tower, I'm going to get a game set up here very soon, so let's play some Blood in the Clock Tower. Woo!
Blood magic, woo!
Right.
Yeah. Everybody tell one person about our stream, and thank you.
Goodbye.
Great. Enjoy.
Ciao, ciao.
Show the orc raid! Orc raid!
Too late, forgot.